All right, frenzies. What's up, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? How's Monday treating you? Hello. What is this? Play the song, dang it. Hello, friends. My citizens, my tomatoes. How's the weekend treated you all? We're back for another week of weirdness, crashes, deaths, giveaways, space and stuff. Hope y'all are ready for it. Thank you so much, Mace, for the resub at the beginning of the stream there. Sean, I saw you in here early. Maxine, Holston Coop, Feathers, saw you all over there in YouTube. Thank you for showing up so quick. Good to see you all. Ron Adams, hello. Zortoza, Tipman, Archangel, Rogue Duck, Will I Wham. Another Monday on Rollercoaster Earth. Yeah, that's an understatement. Rollercoaster Earth. More like freaking runaway merry-go-round with a nuclear jet booster on the side, kind of messed up. Much crazier than a standard roller coaster, I'd say. Punji, Mr. Toes Gang, how's it going? Hello again, Maxine. Yeah, so, folks, today is a Monday stream. Gonna keep it calm, so if you were coming looking for some gameplay today, don't think there's gonna be much. We might do some towards the end of the day. But as with many Mondays, I wanted to take today to sit down and kind of just talk about what I actually enjoy about this game, which is like the development and how it's being made. To be honest, it feels like focus has been a lot on kind of trying to play the game lately, and while I enjoy that, it's also led to more stuff that has to do with playing the game that I just don't want to. I've been here to make videos about this game. I started making YouTube videos to cover the development. I didn't make gameplay videos. I didn't start out streaming to do gameplay. That's not why I'm here. I know a lot of people love playing the game. I don't right now. This is the kind of stuff I enjoy. So that's what I want to spend my Monday doing. If you like that, then stick around. Today is an ultra caffeinated day, literally vibrating. I'm on the opposite of you. I'm very low key today, but that's probably good for a little narration. Makes things easier. Big Dave, how's it going? You'd be on too, but you're not allowed right now, Sean? Why is that? No Star Citizen in the morning? I love this game and the technology used, but I can't enjoy it when my CPU hits 90 degrees centigrade. Yeah, it can wreck your CPU quite a bit. Has anybody read this letter yet? I know I did a little bit of I did like a review of it. I haven't gone through it in detail, but I did like a small read through. I did one on camera, kind of talked about it as I was going through, but it wasn't super in depth. And that's kind of what I want to do today, is just sit here and have like a good, solid, in-depth talk with you, about the little bits here. And I've also got the progress tracker pulled up here so we can make some references to features in development. And I've got the server meshing video here because we're gonna need the visuals. So yeah, you read through it real quickly. Same. I could use another pass. Alpha Max, good to see you again. How's it going? You're sick from school and your parents said you can't play video games when you're home instead of school. The classic nope. Just in case you're not actually sick kind of thing. I don't know. I used to be on the other side of that. Now, someday, hopefully soon, I'll be on the parent side of that. And yeah, that's exciting. Drazen, what's up, man? Shall we get started, everybody? We don't need much of a intro. We all know each other here, right? So, just to kind of give some context to all of this. Star Citizen's always been super open with communication. Not to the extent that everybody wants, and not in the best ways, I think. But they tend to always try and share the major aspects of what's going on in the game, whether that be the fact that they couldn't make something work, or the fact that they've got something that they're excited for to bring into the game. Now, a lot of times they don't communicate that at the right time. Sometimes that's late, and I feel like something that we get here is slightly late, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. The point is, this is a letter from the chairman, which we usually get at every like kind of big funding milestone. Been a little quiet recently. Chris Roberts, the person who wrote this, CEO of Star Citizen and founder of the game, or CEO of CIG, founder of Star Citizen, he's been more away from the camera in our own eyes than normal. So a lot of people have been waiting and hoping that he would say something significant about what the heck is going on and what people should be thinking on the greater scale of what Star Citizen is going to be in the next year or so. So that's what this letter is, and that's what we're going to review here. Is there a reason why there are so many crashes? It depends on the type of crash. Could be server crashes because of all the stuff going on, people logging in. Could be client crashes because of RAM, storage, hard drive maybe. Yeah, the camera's pretty glitchy. It's my cyberpunk theme. We just deal with that. We just say that and then go along with it. That's when you turn the volume of your video game way down and risk getting caught to play your favorite game. I miss the days where I could be sick enough to miss school but still be up for playing games. Now if I miss work, it's because I feel like I'm literally dying. I get it. What's up, Shadow? Plus, I started yesterday and already have 1.5 million UEC because of a giveaway from another player. Nice. You had no real problems last night? It goes different ways. All right. Well, let's get started. So the first bit of this is yeah, my camera's broken. It just happens to not be that broken. The first thing we're going to look at is the year in review of what's been happening over the last year, complications from COVID, kind of some of the expectations. I wish they had talked about quantum in here, to be honest, the economy system, because we were expecting more at the end of last year with quantum, and it didn't happen. It didn't start happening until just now. I wish they'd talk on that, but this mainly looks at the game in general and all the major features we've gotten and stuff. So let's just start it. I'm sure some of you have heard this already read out loud three or four times. But I'll try to throw in some interesting ad-libs there. In some ways, last year felt like we were stuck just like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, repeating the same cycles as 2020. Just when we thought we were seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with the COVID-19 pandemic, new variants emerged to send cases skyrocketing again and communities back into lockdown and other safety measures. The world knew, okay, this is COVID stuff. Back to the game development stuff. Because of the ups and downs of last year, we are only just starting to get back into the office. The first studio where it became possible to start working together in person at any scale was our UK studio in Manchester, where I have been spending a lot of my time since last fall. For anybody who didn't catch it, Chris and his whole family basically moved from Los Angeles to Manchester to double down on making sure this Squadron 42 gets out the door. While that's good because he's going to be there and he's going to be able to look over everything that's going on, it also might be slightly bad because he's going to be there and be able to look over everything that's going on. And Chris has a reputation, I'd say. You know, I don't know if it's founded or not, but definitely has a reputation for being very hands-on, to the point where, you know, things end up being made over and over again, which might be normal in game development. I don't know, but that is something that happens. I have been working with the Squadron 42 team side by side in the office as we focus on finishing and polishing the content and features of what will be an epic narrative adventure. Our offices in Frankfurt, Austin, and Los Angeles are only just starting to return to the office now that the local authorities have deemed it safe enough to lift various requirements. At the very beginning of the pandemic, we were proud of how we transitioned seamlessly to a work-from-home environment, but as the situation dragged on, it became clear that we were missing the benefits of spontaneous collaboration and team building that came from working in person near each other. That's definitely true. They were very proud of the fact that they were already working pretty remotely by the time COVID came around, but obviously wasn't good enough. Wasn't enough. You just can't beat that face-to-face, you know, arguments with spittle flying kind of discussion. You gotta get tactile. The time I've spent with the squadron team in the UK has only reinforced this, as the ability to walk over to someone's desk and see the issue or having a conversation in passing about a problem or a creative thought makes an enormous difference to the progress. Can confirm. Trying to do anything over the internet that needs constant communication is miserable. When everyone is working remotely, it becomes more of a slog to problem solve on the fly or easily get or give feedback, and you end up with far more meetings and video calls. In our internal tracking, we found that we had 6 times as many meetings when everyone was working from home than when we were working at the office. I personally felt the difference in our release cadence. It took us a little longer to get each patch out than before. It did. Yeah, they have 4 offices in different countries. That's part of the whole why did this take so long thing. They had to build all of those offices from the ground up. Yeah, their patches were late last year. They were late the year before during COVID, especially the June patch. I think it was 3.12, I want to say. But last year's were consistently late leading up into this year. So it'll be, I don't know if they're going to be able to catch up. We'll see. I guess with the long testing cycle of 3.18, the hopes are high. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. I have also seen the trend in the industry as a whole, with pretty much any large title being delayed or in some unfortunate cases released before they should have been. I mean, like Cyberpunk, Halo Infinite, Battlefield 2042, Call of Duty Vanguard, probably you could throw that in there. Plenty of games. For this reason, despite our ability to work fully remote, we are focused on getting people back together, working with each other side by side for extended periods. Going back to the office does not mean a return to the old work patterns and policies, as the extended lockdowns, combined with working remotely for 2 years, has given us new insights into work-life balance for our staff. We have altered our global work policy to allow for flexi hours, and hybrid of in-person and work from home, depending on both an employee's and manager's needs, with emphasis on being cognizant of our employees' life situations. This is good to hear. I do hope this is how it goes, and I hope they're pretty fulfilling on that. I guess you always worry that, you give people too much wiggle room and they start to get complacent. So I can imagine the internal battle of how much time do we allow people to freely work wherever they want to versus like coming into the office every once in a while, just check in with people. You just want the PTU, you had funds there. Broken live. I get that struggle. Despite the challenges of last year, I am proud of how much we accomplished in 2021. In fact, looking back at the year in review, I'm amazed at the amount of content and features we delivered to our players. In January of last year, the community was able to play the first iteration of the Xenothreat Incursion, our first dynamic event that players praised for bringing together the pieces of Star Citizen for a thrilling server-wide encounter. That's actually really important. Escape, how you doing? Good to see you. That's actually pretty important, the dynamic events that they brought in, because those are huge. Events and missions are probably the biggest things they have going for them, because CIG keeps adding these small features into the game. The medical system, the tractor beam attachment tool, the force reactions, the quantum sensitive cargo, different combat improvements, like all this stuff keeps getting added into the game. But because the game is so small and simple right now, there's not enough for people to be enjoying whatever part of the game they like, right? So all these people, why am I slouching? All these people are sitting in the game wondering, yo, when am I going to get more of my own cargo hauling gameplay? Hey, when am I going to get more of my mining gameplay to do? In the meantime, what CIG should be focusing on is trying to push those people to see the other features coming out, not only for testing purposes, but because those features are good when they work. And we have no real reason to do or use those features. Like, how many people were seriously using a multi-tool with the tractor beam before Xenothreat? Or how many people even cared about boarding ships and fighting people on ships before Xenothreat. It does a lot to get people out of their comfort zone a little bit to experience more of what the game has to offer, and I think that's good because the game has to offer some cool stuff. It's just a matter of bringing it together. So the dynamic missions and regular missions that they're throwing in, I think, are super important, and I think they should double down on them this year. While only our first iteration, this event already showed glimpses of the full promise of the persistent universe. In April of 2021, we released Alpha 3.13 Underground Infamy and delivered drive-in caves and sinkholes, planet tech improvements, ship-to-station docking, and more. Not gonna lie, the cave edition was just... I mean, I know it was just the entrances that they changed, but like... there wasn't even a material change. That was definitely... did not feel like a tier 1 kind of upgrade. And it, unfortunately, I think it fell victim to a lot of the features that fall victim to CIG's inside Star Citizen and just sharing development, in that it felt bigger than it was. But the other ones, Planet Tech, Ship to Station Docking, those were pretty good. With Invictus Launch Week, we opened the doors to the Javelin for the first time to let people take a walking tour of the mighty destroyer, and brought the Bengal into orbit to showcase our biggest capital ship yet in the verse and give us a chance to fight it. Let's be honest. Let's not forget that part. That was the good part. However, we really started to hit our stride in the second half of 2021 with the release of Alpha 3.14. Welcome to Orison. When we finished the Stanton system by launching the gas giant Crusader, oh, be careful saying that, Chris. I had so many comments on my video being like, hey, the Stanton system's not finished. It's not finished yet. They still got the Aaron Halo belt. I'm like, yo, come on, you know what we mean. Come on, it's the planets. We saw more people than ever flocking to Star Citizen. Oh, I skipped some there. Accompanying that were a host of quality of life improvements and our first iteration of volumetric clouds. The combat changes in that patch were a nice little stealthy highlight. Then with Alpha 3.15, Deadly Consequences, we introduced V0 of our medical gameplay, looting, bombing, and personal inventory, just to name a few new features. That bombing, though. That bombing. See, the bombing is like one of those features that needs a dynamic event or something to push people to actually care about it. Because right now, it's just like looking at cool explosions, you know? Do I know what the dimensions of the GII desk map might be? I would have to look that up for you. On Fourth Wall, the store that they have, if you just type in Fourth Wall, I guess desk mats, it'll probably say the specific dimensions. If not, let me know and I'll see if I can get that info. Yeah, they accidentally activated that mission on Orison, I saw. And then disabled it. Yeah. Let's see. Where was I? Coupled with our continuing improvements in performance and stability and the drastic reduction in server crashes, Star Citizen the game was finally starting to come together in a way it had never done before. And as great as our 2020 year was in terms of engagement and sentiment, the back half of 2021 was at another level. We saw more people than ever before flocking to Star Citizen, carried on waves of goodwill and excitement from current players asking their friends to join. I hope they were telling them what they were getting into. And from complete newcomers awed by the spectacle of Crusader, the gameplay of Xenothreat, and the opportunities from new features like personal inventory and looting. This stuff's true. All these things were like really little as they were coming in, but each of them have definitely made the game better for somebody who's just getting started. And to cap off the year, when we launched Alpha 3.16, which I don't think they're going to talk much about the features included because there weren't many, Return to Jumptown. Veteran players returned to see our fresh new take on the classic Jumptown emergent battlegrounds, and were amazed at how far the game had progressed. Yeah, unfortunately 3.16 wasn't that big an update, and one of my friends, Astropub, he has been saying that he feels that last patch should probably be something they don't focus on putting too many new features into. And I think I would agree. It's kind of the same thing as the roadmap thing, you know? We've given CIG like years upon years upon years to get this stuff right that they want to do, and they keep on not getting it right. I mean, I guess the end of patch update in 2020, I don't actually remember it too well. But like, with the update, we could have told them to keep doing 4 quarters, but they're constantly wrong about four quarters out. So to save us all the trouble of setting our expectations, maybe they should just cut the roadmap down so that we only see what they do know that they can get, and we stop getting our expectations up. Same thing I feel kind of applies to this end of the year patch. They have very high expectations for that patch. Before 3.15 came out, 3.16 was looking amazing, and then as after 3.15 came out, they had to delay a lot of stuff. And I say, stop setting yourself up for that last year of patch update being a big one. Just make it something that's going to make the game very good for the next 3 months, so that we can all enjoy the game until the first year of the patch, first patch of the year. But, you know, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. For Hire, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Thank you for all the hard work. I really appreciate it. Bless you and yours, bro. Thank you. Appreciated, For Hire. Thanks for coming to check out the stream, too. You should get a small rep increase by disposing of your medical gown properly. 12 inches by 22 inches for the mouse pad. That's not bad. It's pretty long. Will the roadmap update this week? Yes, I believe so. Okay, onward with the road to Pyro. So, where were we? Okay, our wins in 2021 set us up for an absolutely historic start to 2022. So far, we've blown past our projections on new players joining the verse. In fact, this year, we have more than doubled our rate of new user acquisition, and with the recent launch of Alpha 3.17 fueling fortunes, we are seeing over 2,000 new players a day joining the verse. That's a lot of people. Our daily active users have grown by over 50% since the numbers I shared in my last letter from the chairman in 2020. Now, why don't we go ahead and do a quick Google search of that and see what he was saying about the numbers, yeah? Because if they're 50, what did he say? 50% higher for daily active users. So where are daily active users? They got some like graphs down here. Monthly, yearly, daily. So daily active users in 2020. Do we have an average? I would say the average looks like it's right around what here? That's like 40,000 or so. 40 to 50,000 daily active users. Let's say 40,000, right? So a 50% increase on 40,000 daily active users would be 60,000. So they're saying right now, they're getting a daily active user count of about 60,000 players in this broken alpha. Man. That's impressive. That's more than I would have thought. But the game's healthy, to be honest. I mean, I've been skeptical at plenty of times. I would say it wasn't until really this year, maybe late last year, when I started to realize, okay, this game is gonna go somewhere. We've gotten to a point where this game is good enough that it will continue to bring in new people who want to play. And it's probably fairly healthy in terms of the funding. But seeing that it's healthy in terms of the actual players is, I think, definitely something else. And I'm glad that they share that stuff. It's probably not, let's see. What's an average stream... Sorry. Steam average daily user count. They've got numbers that people use for these things, right? I'm going to go ahead and take all of these with a grain of salt. because God knows. Actually, I think Steam is pretty good about tracking these. So to look at like the types of games that have, so this is current players, not even daily average. How would we figure out daily average players? Do they have those numbers on here? Because I'd be interested in knowing. Current players isn't good enough. Current players is way higher than daily average, obviously. But just looking at the names of games that people do play, we'll say in like the 30,000 range current, and right now is usually the peak of the day. So let's assume that these are kind of some of the highest numbers that these games are seeing, and we're looking at around 40,000. I mean, you're looking at things like Stardew Valley, DayZ, Euro Truck Simulator, 7 Days to Die, Monster Hunter World, NBA 2K22, and some of these are probably on other platforms, not just Steam. So again, all of this with a grain of salt. Stellaris is at 40. Freaking Civ 6 is at 40. That's actually kind of surprising. Again, though, these are top games and current players. I don't think this is really... I don't feel like I can make a direct comparison between this and daily actives. I do wish... Oops. I wish I could get more context as to what 40,000 is, though, because I'm not a PC player. I've never tracked stats like this before. Number of Steam daily active users 2020. What are you telling me? That's in the millions. That's not good. All right, we don't need to track that down. If somebody else has the answer, though, I'd love to hear it, because I don't even know what like a good daily active user count is. But like Toe Cutter is saying in chat, this is just how badly people want a game like this. It's straight up not working. It's been in development for 10 years. It has not a great reputation outside of the community, but people really want this to happen. You love to see it. Thanks for your great content. Please continue with the reviews of ships, planets, and stations. These are the best out there. Thank you so much, Hermanos. My brother. Appreciate the €5 as well. Thank you for the super chat. Wondering if we have already hit peak player interest. How many players want to play Space Sims? Then in that game, how many want to play SC? If you think we've hit peak interest, my friend, I think you're forgetting how many people live on the planet. We're just now hitting 4 million accounts. That's not that many. That's a really small amount, you know? The thing to also remember, so a lot of people who have seen this game aren't playing. Plenty of people, I imagine, in chat right now aren't playing the game. A lot of people who would play this game don't know it exists. I have plenty of people who I talk to on a regular basis who have no idea what this game is, but love the idea of it. Tons and tons of people can't afford a computer that can run this game yet. Tons of people don't play PC, so they're only going to see the console ports that come through, which will bring more interest. And a lot of people every day are gaining the ability to start playing on PC. So the peak interest of this game, in my opinion, I don't think it's anywhere close to being peaked, because it doesn't have that much exposure yet. They haven't even started a marketing campaign, really. It will never be finished if CIG still want a job, but if they just streamlined it a bit, make it run a bit smoother is all I want, and Pyro, but I don't expect it to ever be finished. Well, what do you mean by finished, Jeremy? Do you mean finished as in they aren't adding anything else to the game, or finished as in they've told people it's live, you can play it? Phonics Pyro, thank you so much for the 5 subs. Appreciate you gifting those out to the community, getting people into that raffle. Because I agree with you if you mean it's not going to be getting updates. I don't think it will either, at least not for decades. Much like Eve, much like Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky, various games like that. I definitely think they'll still keep building on it for a long time. This game would definitely be better with full VR, and I believe they're planning on it. Yeah, there'd be a lot less players if it was less demanding. Ignoring dupe accounts, less than 1 in 2,000 people on the planet have an SC account. That's actually a lot of people. I eat my words. Been playing for about a week. It's a really rough start, but haven't stopped playing. That's the thing, like, people are willing to play through the trouble right now. Imagine when the game's actually working. That's when the interest really starts coming in. But anyways, I got caught up on that daily active user number. Where were we? With the latest patch, we're enjoying double the daily login traffic of our last April patch launch. We are enjoying monthly active users, which is well beyond the highs of 2020. Okay, just to put that into perspective, the highs of 2020 monthly active users was... So their average was 180. So their high is probably over 200,000. So they're getting more than 180,000 people at least every month. That's pretty good. We had nearly 1 million new accounts created since the launch of 3.17. Oof, Jesus. More than half a million new pledging players joined the game. Okay, so 1 million new accounts, those are free accounts, and then 500,000 people who are actually paying to come in. This week we had our 2 millionth unique player log into Star Citizen. We're on track this year to break 4 million total accounts, over 1 million unique logins this year, and more than 500 million in lifetime revenue. Forgot, but the live one is the normal one. Yeah, live is normal. PTU is the testing universe. I think I missed a first message. Nope, that was the message I just got. Cool. Assuming PES and server meshing comes in smoothly, I anticipate beta no later than 2025, but honestly, who knows? I'll be ready to eat my words. Yeah, it's a maybe. CIG needs to stop pushing quarterly dev cycle for major features, keep the quarterly patches for content only, do biannual feature patches that are way more polished. It's an interesting take. Hermanos, it isn't as buggy as people make it seem. You got a good computer, but if you got a good computer, but older computers make it so it will take you 40 minutes in a city to load a train. Yeah, so that optimization is hurting them. Gen 12 hopefully will help with that. Again, something we'll talk about a little bit here. All of these numbers, these cool, crazy numbers, are due to the incredible support we receive from you, combined with the progress we've been making in Star Citizen, which brings new curious gamers into the verse. It is heartening to see the feedback and impressions from newer members of the community when they first start playing Star Citizen. That's all you. That's all you. I see you out here struggling through. First 100,000 falling through your ship. For all of us, for all of those of us that have been around from the start, how many of you have been around from the start? It's more buggy than people make it seem. Dog, what? This game is more buggy than people make it seem. You think that people act like this game isn't buggy? Hey, Maggles, how's it going? I have a great computer and it's exactly as buggy as it seems. It's just worse on the worst PCs. Right. I think that it's pretty, like, the bugginess of this game is pretty handily explained by people who are playing it. I know I'm not going to shy away from telling people it's buggy. But I also feel like I hear people a lot of the times jump into the game and say more often than not that it's less buggy than they were told. From the inside looking out, I have no idea how that is communicated to people, to be honest. But when I talk to people who are playing the game, generally people seem to agree that it's miserably buggy. Just said it's even worse than they say. Some people say the game isn't buggy as it is. I guess it depends on who you're talking to. Because you'll find people who say this is the buggiest thing ever, and then some people say it's not buggy at all. I think it's super buggy. I don't think it's as buggy as the vast majority of the game space seems to think. Like, a lot of people think that you still can't, like, you're gonna fall through a ship every time you open up, or things just straight up don't load in all the time, and those things happen occasionally, but I don't think they happen as often as it's made to seem sometimes, except for times like now, when there's way too many people getting into the game and they cannot handle it. But also that the crashes, the 30Ks, probably the reason that I and some other people who have been here for a while say that it's not as buggy as it seems is because it's gotten a lot less buggy over time. And we just got rid of some of the major bugs recently, like the 30K protection. That would straight up just ruin your game the whole day. And it would happen constantly, like every week. I think losing some of those bugs recently have made people a little bit less likely to call out the bugs. But it's all about context, I guess. Oh, I don't want to play either, Suzuki. Why do you think I'm doing this? I completely agree with you. It is super buggy. Don't get me wrong. Nobody take what I'm saying as me not saying it's super buggy. What I'm saying is I think that it is said that it is buggier than it is at times. Your experience joining about 4 weeks ago have been fantastic, only the occasional annoying or game-breaking bugs, but this week and ever since Free Fly started, it's been bad. Right, yeah, sometimes it's much worse than others. Back in the days when Porto was the only station, it was way worse with the 30K. Yo, we had bugs. Oh my gosh, anybody remember the interdiction bug with the asteroids? You couldn't quantum travel places. Like it was bad. You would literally get interdicted everywhere you tried to fly, and you'd have to fly around a clump of asteroids and continue your quantum jump every time. It's so annoying. You couldn't walk away from the screen. How can they make 500 million bucks and not fix the game? Well, Mando, that's a good question. How does the US make billions upon billions of dollars and not fix the country? How do all of these game studios make so much money and still put out things that seem to struggle? It's the never-ending question of, why does money not fix problems? Money should fix problems. They have other problems going on. There's other things happening. $500 million didn't go towards fixing the game. For the most part, $500 million went towards building their game engine and building the studios. It's pretty plain to see. If you start looking not only at the numbers they talk about here, where is it? They have 780 people working on in the game. They're paying another 130 part-time that are working in a different studio. They've hired 168 people in last year and 128 people this year so far. They have four studios in three different countries. They're building a game engine essentially from something that wasn't made for this game. It's expensive. I don't know what to tell people. They've had production problems, and making video games is expensive. That's really the main answer for why the game is not fixed with 500 million. It's not pure profit, right? They're paying a lot of people. My first experience was was shooting my friend, so we both opened our ramps and he flew in my ship while getting shot at. Looked like a movie. That's pretty cool. Something you think the community is in complete denial about is what server meshing will actually be, as if CIG is going to solve the problems dozens of other companies have failed to achieve. That's perhaps true. I don't know exactly. I honestly don't know. I don't know what people expect from server meshing. Or rather, like you say, the community. I don't know what the general community's idea of server meshing is right now. I think it's that we'll just be able to have more game space without overloading the servers, and that we'll be able to group people in higher amounts to whatever extent. I'm not sure what people are expecting, but it's not like we're going to see games... It's not like we're going to see something that makes every game inadequate, for sure. I think it's going to be something that's very impressive, and I think it's also... it's still cutting edge technology. The server meshing stuff they're doing isn't like just some trivial thing that everybody does. Like this whole game engine here, Spatial Os. Whoops. Nope, that's actually it. Okay. Their website looks so corporate. So Spatial Os is another game engine. It's being used in games already. And it also is based on the same idea as like server meshing. It allows a bunch of people to be in a small place and all be functioning together. It's a pretty freaking crazy concept. It's not, I haven't seen it really play out in game. I know people have played this game and like all that stuff. This is impressive though. Server meshing is impressive. Making server meshing work on a large scale is impressive. I don't think anybody should take away from the fact that they're doing that. Doesn't mean that they need to change everything about gaming. But I think people should be under the expectation that server mesh is going to do something big for the game. Fully believe CIG will keep hammering away until they either accomplish what they set out to do or run out of funding. I think that they're trying to do what they want to do. That's the part where I think it veers away from the it's a scam theory. Yes, they've taken a long time. Yes, they've made some pretty big mistakes. Yes, some of this stuff has taken longer than it should have, but they are still on a pretty focused path, I think, that pretty obviously to us, that they're working towards what they've talked about. Once they stop doing that, well, you know, then the game has changed. They are trying to add more systems, by the way, yes. Oh yeah, server meshing will be buggy, for sure. But we got away from this. We got quite away from this. Let me get back to talking about last year. We haven't even started talking about the future yet. Where were we? Okay, for all of those of us that have been around from the start, blah, blah, blah. After all, we know every feature, its bugs, and more importantly, what is not done, so it can be easy to focus on the cup half empty rather than full. But what other game has the combination of scale and detail, the ability to seamlessly go from on foot to on board a fully realized ship with functioning components and a livable interior you can move around? Take off towards a twinkling pinprick of light in the sky, up through the clouds into the blackness of outer space, only to get intercepted by a group of pirates looking to liberate your cargo from you. Best them in an intense dogfight, and this is an exhausting sentence, and continue your journey towards the twinkling light in the distance. This is the part of these like letters and even like some of the videos in CitizenCon and stuff. I get what they're doing. Like they're selling the dream, but we don't need it laid out to us. We spend all of our time doing this. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. We don't need the whole idea of what is going on with, or what he wants us to be able to do. I want to hear what his plan is for sure. I just don't need a long sentence explaining it like that. It builds on hype. It feels like marketing. Just tell us what's going on, you know? That becomes another, oh, never mind. The sentence wasn't done. That becomes another planet that you can enter its atmosphere and land on, lower your ramp, and walk out into a bustling city and beautiful river. The people who are reading this, I feel are the people who have already thought about this. This feels like it's for the people who don't know Star Citizen that well, but I don't think they're going to be reading this letter. No? Do I think CIG has more completed, such as planetary systems, and have waited to release them because of back-end tech? I don't. No, I know that's been kind of a theory and a possibility, but I don't think it's true. I think that they've got Pyro and Nyx pretty close to being complete. I think they've got concept stuff going on for Terra, for sure. And I think they've got good progress on Odin. But I don't think that necessarily anything's going to open up and get released once server meshing comes in, besides Pyro. That sentence never ends. Right, they have the ellipses, and then they kept going. All without loading screens and rendered in incredible millimeter detail in either first or third person? Yes, the question. What?
Can you believe it?
Chris. There are other games that have some of these elements, but none of them have everything with the level of fidelity that Star Citizen offers. See, Uriah, going back to what you were saying, it's good that Chris is willing to say this, and they need to say this more and more, because like you said, people might think that one of these things coming into the game is going to do something huge and just completely recreate gaming, right? And be some mind-blowing paradigm shifting addition to the game. But in reality, even Chris says here, it's not about that one thing. It's not about just server meshing. Server meshing doesn't make this game some standout from everything else. It's a combination of all of these things coming together. That's why people like it. That's why people are excited. But they need to double down on that messaging, like you said. You feel like this letter is mainly aimed to the new backers? Could you imagine being a new backer to a game and reading this? Unless you jump in and you're obsessed. This is over an hour long to read. I think most new backers to the game are going to watch video summaries of this or watch somebody else read it. And to be quite honest, if I was doing a video summary of this, I would not include this this 2-minute sentence. They probably have components for more systems, but it's more in the vein of assets from their engine. Yeah, like all the architecture and stuff they're building up, they can start doing it. Hey, Sean, thank you so much for stopping by. I'll catch you later. Sometimes it isn't a bad thing to look back and appreciate just how far we have come. We get a lot of flack for our timeliness and schedules, yeah, especially when the original crowdfunding campaign is brought up, but the game that is being built today is a completely different and far more expansive and immersive game than I pitched almost 10 years ago. I would tell you what, I want nothing more than to sit down with Chris and just talk to him about, God, like, even if it was off the record, just talk to him about what was going through his mind throughout the last 10 years. Like, how did you take this? How did this progress versus how did you foresee it progressing? I want to know the ins and outs. I'm so freaking curious, you know? It's like when you see a huge car crash on the highway and you slow down and you're like, how did this happen? Like, you're looking at all the cars and the pieces and stuff, and Christ, Jesus forbid, God forbid that somebody is hurt. Hopefully nobody is, but you're looking at all the cars and stuff and you're like, how did this, like, who turned where and who came from what direction and like, what were they thinking? That's what I want. Not that I view Star Citizen as a car crash, but it has that same interest. It's like, clearly something happened here. Please, someone tell me what. I want NoClip, if anybody watches that YouTube channel, I want NoClip to do a documentary on Star Citizen. That'd be just fantastic. It'd also be like five hours long. You surprised people didn't melt Reddit over iCache and Pass like they did with bed sheets? I think it's different because it's just the significance of it. Like that they're building tools as they go so they can build systems. Yeah, the tools are very, very helpful. I got a video about that I released recently. I actually don't mind any of the stuff you read in the last section. Yes, we know everything that was said, and while not giving us anything new, I think it sets the backdrop for the statement he makes now about how the game is a far cry from what it was when the initial Kickstarter kicked off. You mean like that long sentence? Like this stuff kind of helps us to understand what it's going to be? Again, you know, it makes sense if he's laying that out for new people, and new people might be reading this. My long-lost detective side comes out every time. Hope they're still making the documentary. Maybe we can get insight from that. Yeah, but I want a third-party documentary. I'm not trying to watch a documentary from CIG. I mean, I'll watch it, and we'll get a ton of really good information from it, but I want something that's a little more investigative, you know? I feel you, Zhang. I get what you're saying. It adds context to this paragraph for sure. Back 10 years ago, there were no fully realized planets rendered with incredible detail that you could go anywhere on. Planets were only visible if they had handcrafted landing locations. And even then, there was a debate whether they would be fully explorable in first person, or if they would be more like landing zones in Freelancer and Privateer, where you could click between a few locations to buy or sell goods or pick up missions in a bar. There is no conception of a first-person system that is as tactile and fully formed as we are making today. That's a little ambiguous, sir. Nor a vehicle simulation that had physical components and the level of systemic functionality that we are striving for. So, Chris is straight up laying out here what people are calling feature creep over the years. Like, he's straight up telling people, this is not stuff that was in the game design when we first came up with the concept. And I think the more and more I read about this and the more I realize how clear this is, it's just going to come down to how every person feels about it separately. It's because these are features that creeped into the game, right? It is feature creep. These are also things that everybody was asking for super hard. Like, people wanted this stuff super bad. So it's not necessarily good or bad, but it is worth kind of sitting down and thinking about, is it worth it? Are these additions worth it to be in the game for the amount of time it's taken? And then to also think to yourself, like, it did have to take some time, because they can't just add this stuff into the game like 5 years later. They have to build the game with that in mind, that it's going to have these components in the ships and stuff like that. Feature creep is what makes the game so intriguing, though. It is! I freaking love the stuff that they've brought in. I honestly wouldn't be interested in this game still if we didn't have the stuff that he's talking about here. How is that ambiguous? The, where is it? The one about the first person thing? What was it that it said? Oh, there is no conception of a first person system that is as tactile and fully formed as we are making today. I mean, there's a lot to pick apart from that. Like, he's saying there is no conception of a first person system that was tactile, but they also used to talk about grabby hands and like interacting with your ship. So what is he pointing towards? Is he pointing towards the fact that we can pick up weapons and look at them? Or like, is he pointing towards the fact that the first person system comes with like survival mechanics? It feels ambiguous, because this could be referring to a lot of different things. Wasn't so much feature creep, more like a total reimagining of the entire project. Nah, I think some of it came in over time. I really do. They reimagined the project in 2014, but I'm pretty sure when they reimagined the project in 2014, they weren't thinking we're gonna have flak ammo in the game. And they introduced flak ammo into the game last year. Well, they introduced the idea. Do you have an effect on your face? That's my camera broken, or my motherboard broken. I haven't gotten to figure it out yet. This is Chris and us crazy backers helping make his dream one game to rule them all. It's a group effort. Everything that I'm saying, whether positive or negative here, guys, isn't like my full feelings on this project. I'm just speaking my mind and how I view every statement in a vacuum. Overall, I love this letter. I love what they're doing. I love where the project has come from. I've been upset with some of the time. I've been upset with some of the delays, the lack of communication. I have a lot of different statements to make on either side of the argument. I'm not going to go either one way or the other. So, expect all the salt in all directions, positive and negative. Can you have positive salt? What is that called? Pepper? The camera jank. Yeah, it's my cyberpunk filter. Where were we? The game being built today is a game that encompasses many. It is a dogfighting space sim. It is a first-person shooter. It's a trading game, a resource collecting game, resource management game, adventure game, survival game, and a social game. Yay, drugging each other. That's the best part of social game. Star Citizen is a universe sim. It is a game for everyone, as in real life, there are many different paths to walk, and success is defined by what makes you happy. Do you want to prove your abilities as a fearsome combat pilot? Pew pew. The game has that for you, but equally, if you just want to quietly mine minerals and make your fortune, I'm a miner. Sorry, I'm acting them out. I don't know why. Or hang out in landing zones. I can't. That's literally just sitting down. Or find a corner of the galaxy that no one else has found. All of these are options in the sandbox that Star Citizen is. To do this right at the scale that will allow millions of people to play together takes time and money. That's such a statement. Allow millions of people to play together. And with your support and patience, we are able to build a game that I do not think any other publisher could afford to do or would be crazy enough to commit. You're right about that. Positive salt is table salt. Not salty tomato. Not gonna lie, tomatoes do better with salt, right? Salt and a little bit of cheese. As far as the PES goes, I want to see an ISC on it showing it working. Yeah, that'd be nice. I hope they do. When you got into the game, you had an extra ship for free. Yeah, this is the free fly event. It's for a special ship race that you can do in Orison. Everybody gets a Pisces. Many that have been financially many that have financially supported Star Citizen do not care about profits or quarterly earnings. They just want the best and biggest game possible, one that lives up to their expectations and dreams. Excuse me. While that is no small task, it is something that is far easier for myself and everyone at CIG to put all our effort into, as it is a privilege to be challenged artistically and supported financially in this manner. Oh, I read that wrong. And I am immensely grateful to have so many people put so much faith in all of us. Okay. All right. So now we move on to the interesting stuff. That was kind of a review of where we are, where we've come from, and a little bit of marketing pizzazz. Really appreciate you backers that stuck with this and kept the dream alive. I don't think anyone would want this game if the features didn't develop any further than the 2018 ideas. I think it would have been a much more, just a blip. Not a blip, but yeah, it wouldn't have been what it is now, which is obvious to say. But like, I don't know. Road to 4.0. Back in December of 2017, Star Citizen Alpha 3.0 was published to the live servers after a unified push from our developers around the globe. Ravo, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you for subbing with your Amazon Prime too. I really appreciate that support. Let's go all the way. 3.0 is not even on here. 3.0 was misery though. The game really wasn't that playable until this patch, 3.3. Because they brought in object container streaming. This was arguably one of the biggest feature changes when it came to performance with this game. Before this game was misery. If you think it's bad now, oh my god. Average FPS across the board for the whole server was like 10. But anyways, they brought in 3.0 with 2017. This monumental patch introduced our brand new procedural planetary technology and the first planetary bodies you could land on and go anywhere across the surface of the 3 moons of Crusader. All we had was Port Olisar and then just the 3 moons around Crusader. We couldn't go to Crusader, we couldn't go to any of the rest stops, we couldn't jump to any other planets. It was basically everybody hung out around Port Olisar, and then you would like go out and do missions. Which was actually kind of nice because it felt very alive. Everybody was right in the same place. It also included a new mission system, improved shopping, new cargo mechanics, and doubled our server player count. To date, Star Citizen 3.0 was probably the biggest incremental jump in gameplay and content, which is why we incremented the alpha designation from 2.x to 3.x, and it was a whole 8 months before 2.6 and 3.0, the Great Drought. You got YouTube Premium just to catch a stream while I... That's awesome. Thank you, Trevor. I mean, I don't know why I'm saying thank you. You got Premium for yourself. But like, YouTube Premium members actually do more for streams than people who don't have YouTube Premium. Because them watching the stream just like adds money. Since you're not getting any ads, they basically just send money to the creator if you are watching this stuff. It's cool. Enjoy that Premium though. The Great Drought was terrible, 2.6 to 3.0. But even bigger, something that I don't really ever see commented on was the graphics got way better. Way better with 3.0. Like there was a huge jump in graphical fidelity from 2.6 to 3.0, but it's not talked about that much. This year we find ourselves on a similar path with 3 huge technology initiatives that will fundamentally change the experience and immersion into Star Citizen. The first of these is what we call persistent entity streaming, PES, which is the foundational tech that enables server meshing. PES is the hardest part of the work needed for server meshing, and is the one that was required the most engineering. It fundamentally changes how we record state in the universe and delivers a level of persistence that you just don't see in other games. I can't speak towards that statement. I don't know if that's actually true. I haven't played in every game. whether they are MMOs or even single-player experiences. Up until now, all persistence in the game has been tied to a player's inventory. Ships you own or items you hold physically or in the virtual inventories of items... Oh, I see. Ships you own or items you hold physically or in the virtual inventories of items you own. If you physically attached an item inside your vehicle, say a rifle to a weapons rack, when you log out or stow the vehicle, it will remember all the attached items and anything in that vehicle's virtual inventory. This is what we were talking about in the last stream. Somebody was saying that there was no persistence in the game. There is persistence, but it only works for inventories and stuff, not for things that you might drop down. Where was I? However, if you drop or place something loosely, even inside a ship you own, it won't be associated with any player inventory. So when you log out, or if the server crashes, the item will not be there when logging in or rejoining. With Pez, we are recording the state of every dynamic object in the game, irrelevant of whether it is owned or held by a player. That means that you could drop a gun or a medpen in a forested area on Microtech and return several days later after logging out to find the gun or medpen still there. So basically, the world will always, or rather the universe will always exist, is what they're going for with persistent entity streaming. Forget server meshing, forget Gen 12, forget all of these big pillars of technology. Persistent entity streaming at its core, as its own thing, is meant to make sure that everything always exists. If a ship crashes on a planet, the wreckage stays there. If you drop a gun for a friend in a bunker and then you go off to continue the mission and that friend shows up 10 minutes later to catch up to you, they'll be able to get that gun, right? Because it's not going to disappear. Nothing's going to happen. It's not going to get loaded out or anything. It's a pretty big deal. Rogue Duck, thank you so much for being around. Got your YouTube premium. Chill. I'll catch you later. Did I read everything here? Yeah. So they actually leave a picture here to kind of show the progression, oops, that we've gone through with server meshing. Guess we can kind of zoom in. I can't really read it too much, but you could see. So client side server side object container streaming was released. No, I'm sorry. That's client side object container streaming was released 3.3.5. And we saw that here. No, I'm sorry. Wasn't it released 3.3? I had you playing while I drove. You have now stopped. You mentioned earlier the random QT interdiction. Those were a nightmare. Those were terrible. Freaking awful. Is going to need some serious hardware. Good thing they've got a few shekels to spend. Yeah, they're going to need some servers. They're using AWS. The world will be covered in med gowns and water bottles. Yeah, we'll have to see what they do about that. How do I think they'll deal with garbage, though? It seems, I mean, I think they're serious about taking things, having NPCs clean up stuff. I honestly do. It makes sense if they use garbage cans, recycling bins, or even just like random crates around the game as essentially spawn closets for objects. As long as they can get NPCs to have an animation where they pick stuff up and throw them into those spaces, things can disappear as soon as they get into those spaces. Nobody's going to care. I think that could actually help as long as they've got like a good system set up to say, hey, there's too much density of objects here. We need to remove this stuff. Sigalian coming in with the raid. Hello. Hello, everybody. How you doing? Good to see y'all. File in, file in. We're here doing some fun things right now. Same thing everybody else has been doing for a week. Freaking out about Star Citizen progress. Sigalian, how's Ultima treating you today? Happy to see you in chat, man. I know sometimes you gotta jump out real quick. New SC game loop. Paid garbage collection. Hey, you know, it could be a thing. Drop your expensive helmet and don't pick it up quick enough. Some NPC will throw it away for you. That'd actually be funny. That covers some of the stuff in outposts and cities, but what about people that go out and fill a crater with mugs and plushies? Very curious to see how they solve the issues that will show up. Maybe they'll just have like a ship, like a collection ship that comes in and just straight scrapes some of it up and leaves. I don't know. Will be interesting to see what they do with random spots like that. Ultima is great. You have to jump out. I feel you. I feel you. Look forward to June 1st. I got you written down right here, man. Gonna have a good stream with Sigelian on June 1st. Be there. Catch you later, though. Thank you so much for the raid. Have a good day. Let's see. So things progressed. Clearly, they started the work on this back in 2018. So, like, when people ask why did this take so long, they've definitely written down like a good summary of some of the stuff that had to go down, that had to happen in order for all this to happen. Look at how many things they had to change in order for server meshing to be possible. We're right here. We're right before the first build of server meshing goes into the PTU. And it goes into testing towards the end of 2022. And by the beginning of 2023, they're hoping to have it available for launch, the server meshing technology. We don't know if that'll happen, but I would suggest finding this link and checking out this page if you want to know why this all took so long. Entity density. Yeah, might disappear over time. I mean, it makes sense. You know, if you got 200 cups, who's going to notice if 20 of them disappear? All right, let's move past this. The technology to do this at scale for a universe as large and detailed as ours for millions of players is no small feat of engineering. We have been working towards this since 2019 when we debuted server-side object container streaming, which honestly didn't make as big a difference as client-side, which allows the server to only stream in and simulate only a portion of our universe, which is necessary if you are going to have multiple servers simulate different parts of the universe. Here is where this video starts to come into play. So let's take a look at what they're talking about. Object container streaming allowed them to create servers. So if this is your game space, right? Let's say this is Microtech, this is ArcCorp, and this is Hurston. If you are one person on the server and you load into the server, come on then. I didn't make this video, so it's not based on my own timing. There we go. You load into the server, you create a bubble for object containers to be streamed in. So everything that's inside of that bubble that is considered an object container, that's ships, planets, moons, space stations, all that stuff, those things are all going to be streamed in when they're inside of that bubble. And you can actually see this happening down here in the corner. So what's going on is the whole server is showing everything, but the client, because of the server-side object container streaming, or no, sorry, this would be client-side object container streaming, is only showing what's near that client. I'm not a game dev, and I don't do this for a living, so take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. But kind of how they've explained it. You can see as that client moves around, things get loaded in and loaded out based on that bubble. Server-side object container streaming is the same thing but for servers, and it'll allow for multiple servers to be able to do the same thing as clients. We'll look at another video that kind of helps to explain that. The development has not been without road bumps. We had to change our plans for how we would persist the state of the universe when we realized that the backend relational database we are planning on using with the host of services, which we had collectively dubbed iCache, which would likely not be able to have low latency at the scale we needed for the number of concurrent players we will need to support in the future. Was wondering about that, where iCache went last year. Yeah, there was a little bit in there about draw distance. We pivoted to using a graph database at the start of 2021, taking a different approach to the services and cache, which we outlined in a virtual presentation during last year's CitizenCon. That's the video we're watching. Water. The current architecture uses what we call the replication layer. This is kind of the newest thing. This is like the new big thing they added to server meshing. They had an original idea for server meshing back when they told us about it in 2017, back here. And then somewhere along these 3 years, they realized they wanted to have a replication layer. And we'll see why that was important soon. The replication layer is going to be super, super important for making sure all this stuff stays updated, which I think they're about to say. The current architecture uses what we call the replication layer, which is a scalable data cache that tracks the state of all dynamic objects in the universe, runs in the cloud, and communicates with the cloud-based graph database, which we call the entity graph. This ultimately is the final authority on the state of all dynamic objects in our universe. The replication layer, which is a separate service in its final form, will have multiple worker nodes based on player concurrency, allows us to track and communicate the state of the universe in real time, and separates the simulation from the state. That's the big part. From what I've gotten, talking to some of the people who are working on it, and from the presentation, whoops, double whoops, triple whoops, that was the big kicker, which is, we'll come back to all this here. So what they're talking about is being described right here. Let's go back. It's a separate service, and in its final form will have multiple worker nodes based on player concurrency. So this replication layer is a separate service from your servers, right? It's completely disconnected, and it will have worker nodes that connect to every client separately, because it needs to be that backbone of the game. Honestly, I always think of it as the same thing that they had in Loki, and in Marvel in general, the whole, what do they call it? The multiverse. They have that like multiverse timeline, right? The original, the OG, and they have to keep killing off the little branches that branch off that main timeline. Those little branches are like these clients, and the main timeline is this replication layer. Like, this is the truth keeper for the game. It also, let's see, where are we? Allows us to track and communicate the state of the universe in real time and separates the simulation from the state. This is especially important to scalability, as clients do not need to wait for a server to simulate to see state change around them, as both clients and servers communicate their results to the replication layer, which is then reflected to all clients. And you can see this again here. There's no communication from the actual simulation in the server to the clients who are playing the game. They don't get that. They have to go through the replication layer, so that even if a server goes offline or something, which I think they kind of like do in the little, they do a little animation for here. It's cute. Little cute server dropping animation. Yeah, so if the game is running and there's an entity graph and the game shuts down, then everything loses their progress. But if the replication layer is running, and even if the server's shut down, everything else is still going to be connected. The game, how many players does this game average? Do you mean like playing the game on a daily basis? They said they're getting about 60,000 daily players right now on average. Yeah, we start looking at, we'll get to some of the other stuff they talked about with the original server meshing in a little bit here. So the replication layer is super important. I think that's probably the most important thing to, if you want to understand, try to understand what's going on with server meshing. So the replication layer, which is a separate service, we've already read that. This is especially important, we've already read that. Because the replication layer service does not need to simulate, it can communicate state change to clients at a fixed frequency and is not bound to simulation's time, which should lead to a better experience for players. For PES to work, both the entity graph and replication layer need to be functional. In terms of engineering, this was the biggest technical challenge and required a fundamental reworking of how the game handles authority and state changes in entities. In addition, a whole host of new online services were needed to support the replication layer and the entity graph. To support PES, we needed to create 12 new services. For server meshing, only 4 more services were currently planned. So you can see just how much fundamental tech for server meshing is in PES. As part of this, we switched to gRPC, which is an open source, scalable, Google-sponsored data protocol for online communication. The nice aspect of using tech like this is that it is designed to scale, and there are lots of available third-party tools and code compared to creating an internal custom protocol. Is there like a storage box or something so you can go out without losing all your good stuff? Yeah, you could put it in your ship if you'd like. That's before the event. I heard around 50k new accounts in the past 4 days. Yes, the numbers I'm getting are from this letter, which came out before the event started. What's the point of my ship explodes and I lose everything anyway? Yeah, so that's kind of the risk, is like, you gotta decide what you want to leave at the space station, whatever space station you're close to, or what you'd like to take in your ship. But if you crash your ship, you might lose that stuff. So yeah, this is a pretty decent, I honestly think that's a really good explanation of what's going on with the replication layer. The servers, the clients, all that stuff, and you can see it happening here. Here's an example of what we're talking about. An actual graphic example. This is actually kind of hard to discern. So what's happening right here, there's a screen here. You could barely see it. It's kind of this quadrant of the overall screen. This is a single server. Up here, there's also a screen. This is also a server. Here is your overall replication layer global database. So this main screen that we're in is tracking everything, but only needs to send certain things to the servers that are active. So let's say Microtech and RCorp. There are 2 people in your party over near RCorp, 1 person near Microtech, and somebody is, let's say, quantum traveling to Hurston over here, Planet 2. The person who's quantum traveling to Planet 2 isn't going to load in anything at Planet 2 until they get there. So everything in Planet 2 exists in the replication layer, right? The game knows it's there, but it's not going to show any of the servers because they don't actually need to boot up a server that's going to be meshed with the other servers to contain that planet. Don't know if that's making a lot of sense. But essentially, you have to think of every server as being like, imagine when you go to the beach. No, that's going to be a dumb analogy. Every server is a bubble of existence, and they're not going to make that bubble of existence matter unless someone is there. So what you could see in this example is that the information from the replication layer has to update the servers every 10 seconds, 2 seconds, whatever you want it to be. So a server is sending all of its information to the replication layer, right? Let's say somebody died over here. It's sending that info to the replication layer to update the background database of the game. And then the replication layer says, or I'm sorry, it pulls information from the other server as well, gets the update. And then the replication layer says, okay, we've got this overall understanding of what's going on in the verse. Let's transmit that to all the players who are also playing so that they can get updated with the latest information. Okay, I'm sorry. They didn't do that point first. I'm sorry, I went out of order. The next step they were doing was showing how one player is moving from one server, or rather from one area of the verse to the other. So they just quantum jumped from RCorp to Microtech, right? Let's see what happens in their server. So it stays the same because there's still the 2 players in 2 parts. In fact, hold on a second. So this is all the information being updated across the replication layer to the different servers. And I think you said the server is kind of a player. Yeah, the server is basically taking the place of what the client used to do. In that first example we showed, in this one, I never even showed this. I'm sorry. This is the more important part to show. This is what it looks like right now. And you can see the FPS in the top corner. It fluctuates as players load into a single server. I'm sorry, guys. I went so out of order with this. I'm probably confusing everybody. Replication layer is a memory data cache. Yeah. Let's take a step back and do a quick rewind. I completely forgot to mention this part. So the way it works right now is that we all load into a server. Everybody knows 50 players per server. As more players come in, servers get worse, right? Every person, though, is getting their own game. This is like your computer screen up here. These are all separate people's computer screens. And as you can see, as a player moves around, the game will load in new stuff for them. So let's go back. You see this purple ship? As it comes into proximity with the planet over here, and you look at the purple ship's client, their game, the game that you're playing on your computer, you could see the game starts to load in Hurston. It starts to load in Ida and Lyria, or Aberdeen and Ariel. So all that stuff is loaded in on the client, but not for anybody else. That being said, it's still loaded in for the whole server, which makes the FPS go down. So that's the basic idea behind what they need to get by. They need to stop putting all of the load on the server and disconnect to that load. So now we can go back to the actual example, if that made a lot of sense to everybody, or any sense whatsoever. And like Mando had said, with this new version of server meshing, essentially what they're doing is they're taking those clients and replacing them with the servers. A server is not going to handle the whole area. It's just going to handle one section. And that's what the whole idea of server meshing is. Instead of having one server handling the whole system, you have a server handling this section, and a server handling this section, and a server handling this section, and they're all meshed together. Now, what I don't really understand with this example is why this ship leaves... Oh, you guys can't see that side. I'm sorry. What I don't understand with this example, maybe somebody can help with, this ship over here actually leaves this area and goes over to the other area. And you can see they still stay in this same server. Oh, never mind. Problem solved. Problem completely solved. CIG, you know what you're doing, don't you? Okay, check it out. So this ship actually leaves the area where their teammate is and goes into the other server, and you can see that it loads all of that stuff into this initial server. But if you look down here, it also loads the ship into the other server. So now you have kind of this hybrid thing going on where the actual meshing is happening. This ship is on two different servers, and whichever server has the better connection, I believe, is going to be the one that tells the ship what's going on. So continuously, when this ship enters the two servers, both servers will continue to communicate with the replication layer, pass the information back and forth, help the communication happen between you and your ship and the rest of the game universe and what's happening. And I think that's how it works. What they're doing is just draw distance? No, it's not just draw distance. What do you mean? They talk about draw distance here. They absolutely mention that the draw distance changes based on what's going on with distance, but this is about like streaming in data. It's basically loading. I guess because these things don't actually have to be in the game physically, right? Even if these two players are on the same server, they're too far away for like a draw distance type of thing, right? This seems more related to actually loading in the assets or the entities. But I think that is the end of this segment. And they just were talking mainly about how... So you can see what's going on here in the bottom. The blue ship and the blue moon are still linked to this server. That's why they're blue. But it looks like the connection to this server gets better, so they actually transform into red and are controlled by this server now. This is getting just way too deep into it, but I think they're showing how server authority will transfer over during this server meshing sort of activity, or whatever you want to call it. That's a long-winded version of doing it. Is it like a server per party? I wonder if there will be a player limit. Yeah, that's what they've been kind of talking about. Is like, what is it? What's the limit going to be in terms of how many people can be in a server? How many servers can you have in one place? You know, can you have 3 servers in a city, therefore allowing for, at our current limits of servers, 150 people to be in that city. We don't really know. I think that's what a lot of the testing over the next 6 months is going to be about. If this is done with all info sent to clients, would that not also mean that no cheats aimbots could know how many people are in a ship or building from the outside, as they simply aren't sent or loaded? You mean with all the info not being sent to clients? I'm not exactly sure how it will work with things like anti-cheat and stuff. I'm only just barely grasping it, to be honest. I don't know I don't know network security and all that stuff. I got a friend for that. There will be a user limit per server, but a server can basically just be there for one room or a ship. Exactly. So we don't know exactly how small or how closely together they can pack these servers, or what their possibilities are going to be yet. Okay, so all of that means that getting persistent entity streaming to work would require the bulk of the tech we need to make server meshing viable. We are happy to report, after 16 months of extremely focused work by 18 engineers, 3 dedicated QA, and 4 producers, you know, all those people were saying, why aren't they working on this instead of ships? Check it out, they weren't working on ships. The team were able to demonstrate persistent entity streaming working last week in our weekly internal persistent universe update meeting. This was a very big deal. That's awesome. And he goes on to explain how it worked. I always have trouble reading this out, so I'll give it a shot. Paul Reindell, our director of engineering for online tech, spun up a server, populated the entity graph to its initial state along with the replication layer, then connected a client, placed down a series of small objects like cans on the surface of Aberdeen, along with an 890 jump and an arrow. He then killed the server and the client. The server was restarted. We did not populate the entity graph, and then connected a client, warped to Aberdeen, and everything was there as he placed it. This was a huge milestone, as the state of the universe was recorded to the backend database, and then when he restarted the server, it just connected to the replication layer, which had initialized itself from the database, the entity graph, and continued with the universe and the state he left. So that entity graph is that third part that you see up here. The replication layer is a vehicle for the entity graph almost. The entity graph is what seeds all of the objects into the game and what helps the game understand where everything is. And the fact that the replication layer, even after everything has been shut down, can reestablish a connection to the entity graph and then reestablish its own connections to the clients and servers. Or actually, I think it was, to the clients and servers is what they're describing here. They essentially got done what they showed us at CitizenCon that they wanted to do last year. So when people tell you that they don't get stuff done from CitizenCon, don't point them to this because it's not in game yet. They could have one server running a giant space battle and have a different server handle what's happening inside of a capital ship. That's the idea, yeah. That sounds very expensive to have a lot of servers, to be honest. It does. That's why they have so much money, or that's why they're raising so much money. People keep asking, why is there so much money in no game? And it's like, look at how freaking expensive all this stuff is. I wouldn't say server meshing is around the corner, but I would say it's in a much better place than it's ever been before. We know more. We have a better solid idea of what's going on with it. It's mem cached on crack. The replication layer is memory based cache. I see. Okay, so it's like that short term, here's what's going on kind of thing. Think we'll still have regional servers. I do think that'll probably end up being the thing. Or shards, whatever they want to call it. This would open the way for capital ships. That is the hope, yes. And that's how they've talked about server meshing in the past. Once server meshing is in, there is a much stronger possibility for larger ships. Compared to the last 10 years, right, Ermeo? That's tasty, though. I gotta say, this is one of the worst written paragraphs I've ever read. I cannot read this. Like, we go from talking about Paul Reindel to talking about we to like commas ending sentences with no ands before them, and like it's just this whole paragraph just confuses the heck out of me, and it is the most important paragraph in the whole letter. So I found that kind of funny, but we get the idea, and I'm very happy to hear it. So for many people this may not sound revolutionary, but Chris can tell us it is akin to Neil Armstrong taking one small step, and honestly the first time I read that I felt a little hyperbolic. But relatively speaking, it does kind of feel like that. Like, getting persistent entity streaming running is like the first step into what is actually the goal, right? The first sign that we're actually going to get something. Full persistence will provide over the coming years an experience in gaming that most other online games don't provide. A universe that you can escape to. That is here's that marketing speak again. That is affected by your and other players' actions, with the state being dynamic and persistent. Crash land on a planet, and your shipwreck will persist, while you forage for food and water to survive, and perhaps you'll use wood to make fire and keep warm. God, please not. I don't want to make fire. Like, literally, just give me a little thing that I can pop on the ground and it makes warmth. That's all we need. We don't need to chop down trees in this game, right? I mean, what year are we in? Half the time we land on a planet, we wouldn't even be able to have a wood fire anyways with the atmospheres. Ooh, what if you don't crash land and just land? Well, the entire promise of server meshing is broken. Just gone. Crash landings or no landings, thank you. That is the tomato way. Perhaps, once you have been rescued, another player will stumble on the wreck of your old ship and the long-extinguished campfire. Find a corner of the galaxy to make your own, collect resources, and import material to build your outpost. Decorate or arrange your hangar or home how you like. To be honest, I read it all kind of, I don't know, facetiously, however you want to say it, but it's exciting stuff. This is like the reason I jumped into this game in the first place. We have the caves, now we need to populate them and make fire in them, right? Cave fires, yeah. Hey, Professor Oaks. Yo, I always knew Professor Oak was a real one. Thank you so much for gifting out those 2 subs to the community and getting us halfway to our sub goal. I appreciate you. Thanks for the support. You'd rather die than get to that point. Unless you lose experience, then it's worth surviving. You won't lose experience, but you will lose one of your lives. And each character that you play with will only have probably anywhere from like 6 to 10 lives. So if you just kill yourself, you're going to lose all of your items. You're going to lose your ship. You'll have to pay life insurance. You'll have to pay for the new body. And you'll probably... you'll be one step closer to that character permanently dying. At this point, I would have preferred a single-player co-op RPG, but this should be cool if it comes out. At least we still have Squadron 42. There is a single-player version of Star Citizen. It'll be using the same kinds of game mechanics. I swear to God that crashing on the alien planet and having to survive is a wet dream. That's like what made No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky start out was so cool because of that. But yeah, the persistence is very... excuse me. Puberty. Persistence is very, very exciting. Now, where was I? With this tech in place, server meshing becomes possible, as the replication layer and entity graph is the universe state that clients and servers write and read from. Because we have decoupled state from simulation, this is huge, by the way. If there's one thing to pull away from what is the difference between old server meshing and new server meshing, this has been hammered home to me so many times. Decoupling state from simulation using the replication layer was like huge in getting this version of server meshing running. Really want to play the single player to get the backstory. It will come out sooner, that's for sure. Ooh, domesticated animals to take over spaceships. Let's see. Server nodes all communicating with the replication layer, which we saw. These are all your server nodes communicating with the replication layer. They laid this out back in November, and now it's starting to work. Responsible for simulation of focused areas in the universe, which allows us to scale our ability to simulate the overall universe, as a server is no longer responsible for every non-player entity, regardless of location or number. This means that instead of a server dropping to 5 frames per second due to a simulation load, we can just spin up another server, and then another, to spread the simulation load and keep the update tick rate high. This is the ultimate goal of dynamic server meshing and what we are working towards. Now, a fundamental change to how state is recorded, especially one that affects every dynamic object, not just a select few, is going to have a lot of edge cases and issues we have not come across yet or foreseen. So let's talk about how we're going to get there. They're finally telling us, here's how close we are, here's what we need to do. Or rather, they've told us here's how close we are. Now we're going to learn here's what they need to do. We are going to be approaching 3.18 differently than our previous releases. So if we go on the roadmap, everybody knows 3.18 is the next one. It's got server meshing, it's got salvage, it's got the cargo refactor, and we really don't know much about what else it has. Oh, excuse me. Due to the fundamental change, we are anticipating that 3.18 will require a much longer Evocati and PTU phase due to the fundamental change in how the game tracks state. We know that we will also need testing at scale, as in our experience, we see different issues when we go from internal testing to Evocati to PTU Wave 1, then Wave 2, and so on. Players do crazy things, and lots of players create lots of crazy cases we had not considered, which expose bugs and edge cases. Our guess is that it may be as long as 3 months in the PTU stage, but it is hard to predict. For instance, will the universe turn into a nightmare version of WALL-E because everyone just throws empty boxes on the ground or dumps the 10 AI bodies they have looted in New Babbage's commons? We are working on what we call a density manager to manage the objects that get recorded and clean up the lower priority ones when too many are in one area. But I suspect we will also have to implement AI janitors and perhaps even crime stats for littering in landing zones like New Babbage and ArcCorp. Can we please have a finished game with not to complicate star systems than having a unfinished infinity alpha phase? I am not exactly sure what you're referring to. Everything we're referring to here, nuffages, is literally what has to happen for the game to be finished. None of this is extra star systems. None of this is additional polish or unneeded features. This is literally the game. Like we can't have Star Citizen without server meshing. Permadeath doesn't seem necessary. I don't know if that's just me though. A lot of people don't want permadeath. I think also though calling it permadeath might be a mistake on my part because it's not necessarily permadeath. I mean, it's permadeath in the fact that you lose a character. It's not permadeath in the fact that you're going to lose all your stuff. All that stuff's just going to be passed on to another character. The idea of the way they're doing death is just to build more importance on the stuff we do while we're alive. If you're in a war with another org and their org is winning and one player has the ability to go in there and be a hero and dodge all these shots and do all this stuff and take out their capital ship, and it's amazing, and like they've saved the day and then they died doing it, that makes a way better story. That's way more significant for the game than if they died doing it and then just respawned on the ship that's back in the battle and everything was cool, you know? Like, if you are going down to a planet to explore and you find a cave and you go into that cave and you hear that there's an animal in there and you think to yourself, oh man, I left my rifle on the ship. I left my med pens on the ship. I don't know if I'm capable of doing combat. I didn't plan for this. I don't want to lose this progress. Maybe I should go back. That's different than if you were not going to lose that progress and you would have just respawned if you died, right? Because like, then it's just whatever. You could throw away a life and go back to what you're doing. But this game is always about, you got to plan to have your med pens. You got to plan to have the people who know how to do the stuff. You got to plan to have combat experience. You got to plan to have a VTOL ship that can stay in the air on a heavy gravity planet. So in order to double down on that and not let people just ignore all of those things and die and then come back and die and come back, they have to build some sort of a deeper consequence. I think they're hitting a good middle ground in that they're not saying, hey, you die, you're done, everything's gone. They're saying, we're going to make it really hard to die, and then if you die, you still get 6 more of those chances. Not only you get 6 more of those chances, you can bring some of them back, you can prolong some of them, and then even after you lose all those 6, you just pass all your stuff down to another character. So it's not going to kill the game experience for you, but it's going to have an effect. It's going to be something that you do definitely notice and think about, and I think that's really what they're going for. That's my long-winded speech on permadeath, which probably shouldn't be called permadeath. I think somebody said it's kind of like Eve. Or Elite Dangerous, yeah. Yeah, need to make sure medical roles are not phased out with respawning options. Yeah, medical's going to be a big part of the game, I think. Medics in this game are going to have a lot of fun. But that's one thing to remember is, like, as annoying as it is, the game definitely focuses a lot on planning and, like, forcing you to plan stuff out. Yeah, you will lose some of your reputation. And you'll have to pay money, and you'll probably lose a few of your belongings. But it's not going to just be some complete reset that you get. It's not called permadeath, it's called Death of a Spaceman. Yeah, but if I say Death of a Spaceman, then I have to explain a lot more. Because then I have to explain why is it not just called, I don't know, I wish they had an easier name that described it. Like 9 lives. Let's just call it 9 lives. I don't know. Who am I? As it did not make sense to engineer the revamped physical cargo system in Salvage for the old system, these 2 features have been engineered for PES and will arrive with 3.18. I love that we get confirmation that Salvage and the cargo refactor will actually be in the game in 3.18. That's awesome. Granted, 3.18 is not coming out right away, but character degradation works. Could say, like, yeah, character degradation. Just no matter what you say, you got to explain it, right? However, we do not want engagement and content to stall because of PES requiring longer testing, so we are planning to release a content-rich Alpha 3.17.2 patch with known stable code, new missions, new locations, and other gameplay in late June. What were we saying? When we were reading last month's monthly report, what were we saying? They had new missions coming in with these new locations in 3.18, 3.17.2 now. But like those monthly reports, it ain't about the roadmap, my friends. It ain't about the roadmap. Monthly reports in ISC, they'll tell you what you need to know. The vast majority of players, hundreds of thousands of them in fact, are here simply to play on live. And for them, we want to keep giving them engaging new gameplay and adventures to enjoy simultaneously while we test 3.18 at scale on the PTU. This is how it always should be. I love this. The goal will then be to get 2 to 3 months of testing on 3.18 and PTU for an Alpha 3.18 release to live in late Q3. I know many of you have been waiting for Salvage, Physicalized Cargo, and Persistent Entity streaming for a long time, and I'm excited to see us in the home stretch to finally bring it to you. I think 3.18 will be an amazing update that is an even bigger game changer than 3.15 was, but we want to make sure we give it the proper time to test, so we can deliver it to you at the best quality possible. Am I going to read every word of this? Yes, Dirty Thunderblade, I am. If you don't want to see every word of it, I've already made a summary. It's on my channel. Instead of snoozing, just go check out that one. Were you around in 2015 when we had the 5-month-long PTU? For 3.0? 8 months it took. Oh my gosh. That was such a long time. This is what you listen to when you work from home. Alex, you all, or you just blow me up, right, with missiles. Board Gamer just did the same thing. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know. I mean, I think it makes sense that people are reading this. It's pretty new information. But if you don't want to hear me read it, that's fine. I I didn't plan with Board Gamer or anything. Discard TV, thank you so much for the sub. Thanks for the Amazon Prime sub, much appreciated. Where were we? The thing that I'm doing is I'm not just reading every word. I'm reading it and then giving context. So that's essentially all my content ever is. So if you want that context, definitely stick around, because I mean, I'm trying to bring in a little more information from the roadmaps and the different videos we've done, and not necessarily just read every word. Where was I? Okay, so alongside persistent streaming work, the engine and graphics teams have been making great progress on the second big technical initiative we've been working on in the past 2 years, a complete replacement of our graphics engine with what we call Gen 12, which is a multi-threaded and much more efficient approach to rendering, which gets the most out of modern graphics APIs like Vulkan. I actually have a little animation for this. Little Gen 12 animation. So basically, I have a whole video that explains this whole thing. This is just a part of the video that I made to show Gen 12. But what it's going to do is it's going to help the game shunt more of the effort that it's taking to load the game towards the GPU rather than the CPU. Many of you guys know that the CPU is, somebody said 90 degrees centigrade, right? It gets really hot, it gets highly loaded, and it's just not doing well. So what that currently looks like right now is this graph. Essentially, whenever something has to get rendered or created, you have your cores on the left side. This is like not how your computer actually looks, believe it or not. You have your CPU cores on the left side there. They have work that they need to get rendered and then sent to the GPU. But in order to do that, they have to get all of the work done on their CPU core before they can move on to the next one and start working on that. Before they move on to the next one, start working on that. They have these little spots, these tasks that they run that allow them to transfer over to the other core. This is all simplified coming from someone who has no idea what they're talking about. So I'm sure I'm using wrong terminology, but they have tasks that allow them to jump to other cores and get more work done. However, that obviously means that you are spending a lot of time and effort doing a little bit amount of work, right? And as you can see, you got an occupancy, or rather a load on your CPU of 60%, and you're taking a time of 11. It's not very efficient. So what Gen 12 hopes to do is instead make sure that the entire CPU is multi-threaded so that all of these tasks can be collapsed into simultaneous functions that aren't loading, waiting for another one to load, loading, waiting for another one to load. Makes better use of your CPU, taking up more of the load, but decreasing the time and sending more of that work over to the GPU faster. Oop. So that's kind of a very short and basic way of, I don't think that really helps you understand Gen 12, or rather the multi-threading aspect of it. If you wanted that, watch the whole video. But the idea is that a lot of the work goes to your CPU right now in a not great way. And what they want to do with Gen 12, which is the actual rendering engine for the game, which, believe it or not, has still not been made, is allow the GPU to do that work instead. This is their major optimization pass, their first one. It also is going to allow them to support modern APIs like Vulkan, which means like Linux people. This allows us to utilize the modern graphics power of PCs more efficiently and not tie up the main game update loop with waiting around for draw call submissions and the like. That's what they're called, draw calls. There it is. We're looking at getting the bulk of this functionality in for a live release of 3.18, with the release of Vulkan functionality a little later, hopefully by the end of the year. That was probably the most, not the most surprising news, but that caught me off guard. I did not think that Vulkan would be a topic by the end of the year. I didn't think that Gen 12 would be something in 3.18. I mean, it's coming in piecemeal, but I did not think they were expecting most of it to be done by 3.18. Thank you, GQ. I did my best. Need that good internet? Ah, yeah, that's the other part. CIG can do everything they want to fix this game, but if you don't have good internet... I think I saw Zollner in here earlier. Say hi. Missed it. Want to say hi? I hope you're still around. Hope you're having a good day. Cat boys and cat girls, there you are. How's it going? Good to see you. Am I getting into the verse today? I will not be playing today. No. Okay, so we got done with all of this. Now we can talk a little bit about server meshing. Feels like we have been talking about server meshing for an hour. As you might have guessed, we will approach server meshing in much the same way that we are rolling out persistent streaming. Star Citizen, hello Jung. Star Citizen Alpha 4 will be truly a new era for Star Citizen. It will mean our final tech building block, server meshing, will have been delivered. The first implementation will be what we call static server meshing, where each server is a defined area. But as soon as static server meshing is stable, we will move towards dynamic server meshing with subsequent releases, which will allow much more scalability as servers will not be bound by location. That's what we're really waiting for. That probably won't be in 2023. Adam, we're looking at the letter from earlier. I'm trying to provide some context to some of the stuff they're talking about, bring up some videos they've released, and talk about what this all means that Chris told us. 317.1 has been treating you really well. You've been too busy to really enjoy it. I feel that a lot. I hope after the free fly it works a little better too. With 4.0, we will also get our second star system, Pyro. And we begin the process of adding more and more content, gameplay, and polish to get us to beta. Beta. For all of us at CIG, server meshing in 4.0 represent taking that next big leap to populating the verse with the promise of content and gameplay that will turn Star Citizen into the rich, living universe that exceeds the promise we set before us those many, many years ago. Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate that. Remember when 800 got you a nice PC? Oh my gosh. Our current goal is to introduce... Oh, Lee Cal. Thank you so much. I just realized this is blocking everything. Thank you so much for the Amazon Prime sub and support here on Twitch. I appreciate that. 17.1 has been rough for you. It's been pretty hit or miss for me. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's terrible. Our current goal is to introduce server meshing in 4.0 as an early technical preview to Evocati testers in PTU at the end of Q4 this year, allowing our most ardent players to help us start testing server meshing so we can refine and polish it for release. But this is heavily conditioned on how well and easy the PES system rollout goes. So be warned, this has a high chance of slipping into Q1 next year. Once server meshing starts to see real world testing with thousands of players in PTU, we will get a better idea of how much time it will need to cook in PTU before it can make its way to live. We're aiming at the end of Q1 2023, but again, we really will not know with confidence until it hits testing. Honestly, it sounds like he's very much anticipating a possibility of a Q2 release next year. So we might actually be looking at this time next year still not having Pyro in the live servers. Also kind of sucks, the entirety of Pyro is going to get ruined by the PTU phase for all the people who want to go in live. What services do I use to get Wi-Fi in Turkey? I just use 4G hotspots. There is a place to report bugs and stuff. The Issue Council. This special 2022 release cadence will not be particularly unusual to most players. If you pull back and look at it in a broad sense, we will still have 4 big end of quarter releases. See, he didn't mention if 4.0 can't go to live. So this part kind of confuses me, because he's saying they're going to have 4 releases. We got 317. 318 is going to come at the end of Q3. 319 is going to come, I guess, also at the end of Q3. 318 will be like the beginning of Q3. 319 at the end of Q3. Is he saying, what exactly is going to be the 4th update? Is he saying that the 4.0 to Evocati is technically the 4th update? Because that doesn't, that doesn't really compute with me. I feel like he should be talking about live. Hopefully we would see Star Citizen improve this year, but I feel like performance is going down. We'll definitely see Star Citizen improve this year. I mean, just Gen 12 coming in is going to be very helpful. Oh, he's implying 317.2 being... Okay. Okay, I see. Gotcha. Oh. Because it's a content release. Okay. Makes sense. So does that mean... Yeah, what does that mean for 319? When is 319 coming? Is it going to come in November/October like it normally does, or is it going to come in December? And does that mean that we're just not going to see any patch from November until March? It's confusing. I'm confused as to what's going to happen towards the end of the year with the live servers. But I think maybe they are too, so they're not saying. You don't think we'll get 319? You think they'll just go from 318 to 4.0? Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how it's coming up. Let's see. Players who are not steeped in our development process will still enjoy and experience rapid content releases every quarter. And as we get into the second half of 2022, you will see a lot more meaningful gameplay make its way into the verse, with another run of Xenothreat, updates to Jumptown, new dynamic events, additional locations and points of interest to explore, and more patch updates. There will be no shortage of gameplay and content to experience. Debatable. And by year's end, players will be able to enjoy persistent streaming, salvage, cargo refactor, and Bounty Hunter V2 gameplay on live. Alright. Bounty Hunter V2 gameplay is loaded. Because I think it's going to bring in... So, when they talk about Bounty Hunter V2 gameplay, they talk about a security app on the mobiGlas. They talk about how that's going to be linked into distress beacons and comm arrays and ATCs and cameras in cities, which we've seen in Hurston, and NPC informants, assuming that would mean people like bars or NPCs you can talk to get news. This will rely on various new backend tech, like virtual AI, which is development on the quantum system, NPC scheduler, and security service. Now, if you go even deeper and you look up what security is, you will see that Security Network V0 has already been completed, V1 has been completed, and what they tell us is that the security system will allow features to know if players are trespassing without having to assign them criminal ratings. Also routes criminal sightings to the backend communication network. So this will kind of, I think, get rid of the omnipresent marker on bounties. That's basically wall hacks. Full implementation of the security system includes other features for which players may need clearance levels such as doors and elevators. This starts to build on permissions, and this is stuff that we've seen built into cities such as Arcorp and Orison already. So Bounty Hunter V2, he just kind of slips that in there, but there's like a ton of stuff that comes with it, and I do hope that they start to talk more about the specifics, because I mean, even just the tracking app is huge. This makes it sound like you will actually be bounty hunting and you won't just be following somebody around a system. Whoa, StreamTuber, member for 20 months on YouTube. Wow. You're awesome. I hope you get to keep this up for a long time. Thank you, Extreme. I do too. I really want to. And I hope I can. I appreciate you being a member. Thanks for the support. Yeah, there's definitely going to be some quantum updates coming this year. The economy. Totally missed all this stuff. V2 sounds sick. Yeah, bounty hunting V2 sounds really significant. So that combined with the cargo refactor, salvage, essentially you'll be able to jump into this game and be a full-time miner. Probably not a full-time salvager, but at least try salvage. Sounds like cargo hauling will definitely be better. Piracy will be better because now you're going to be able to rob people from their cargo. Bounty hunting will be better because now you'll be able to track pirates down much better. That's a decent amount of like viable game loops. Combat, obviously, FPS combat, it's coming together quite a bit this year. Meanwhile, those who are following our development closest and providing the critical service of helping us test our biggest tech will be able to get their hands on persistent streaming and server meshing this year, as we put them into test in 3.18 and 4.0 in PTU during the summer and winter, respectively. Sometimes the wait can be hardest when we are closest to the finish line, but this year, I am so excited to share our release plans for our key tech building blocks, and I know many of you cannot wait to jump into PTU and start testing later this year. I realized now, I made a statement earlier that was completely wrong. Just because they're bringing in server meshing to test in 3.18 doesn't mean they're going to include Pyro. They'll probably just have server meshing working in Stanton. I don't know why I assumed they would make Pyro available to everybody else months in advance. The cargo hauling sounds like a lot of fun once it actually works. Okay, so that was generally the development news we got from this. That's what's going on. That's what their goals are for the next year. But it's a lot of work. And so now they kind of talk about what's going on with actually building the company. A lot of people say, hey, you know what? This is a scam. Like maybe they're taking money for themselves. Are they actually working? What are they doing? This is the part that talks about here's what the company's made of, and here's what they're doing with their time and money. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, stick around. Server meshing is not in 3.18, only Pez. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean 3.18. I meant 4.0. So to start this section off, it is easy to only focus on our development progress and the work we have ahead in building Star Citizen and Squadron 42. That's the single player version. But there is another very important element of our journey that is often overlooked. Not only are we building two hugely ambitious games to rival anything released by the biggest AAA studios, but we've had to build the company to build the technology and make the game from scratch at the same time, and keep it running. Sounds miserable. The day I stepped out on the stage at GDC, we had no formal employees. 3 founders in Ortwin, Sandy, and myself, and a handful of people that have helped like Forrest Stephen, David Haddock, and David Swafford. Sometimes moonlighting from their day jobs, like Ben Lesnick, Anez Appel, Sean Tracy, and Paul Reindell, and a few friends from Old Origin and Digital Anvil days like Sergio Rosas and his CG Bot art outsourcing company to create the demo and build the website. So when they started, they didn't have a company, they didn't have a product, they had a literal demo that they wanted to. They essentially had a pitch when they started. I don't know what they were saying back then. They were probably saying things like, oh yeah, we've been working on this for a year and this is, it's well underway. Clearly they weren't prepared to work on the game when they started this, when they pitched it. Today we have 780 people on staff, plus an extended family of over 130 working closely with us at Turbulent in Montreal, with many more that will join us in the coming months. We have a 7-person global talent acquisition team that focuses exclusively on trying to hire the best talent possible for CIG. To give you an idea of the scale of talent acquisition, they helped us hire 168 people last year and 128 already in this year. They have a lot of people. And I'm going to keep going and talking about the studios here, but as I talk about like the expansion they're doing in the space, start to think about the possibility that maybe they're aiming to do more than just Star Citizen stuff, right? I mean, not just Star Citizen stuff, but maybe they're aiming for more than just Star Citizen the game and the 3 episodes of Squadron 42. Why do they fix exploits so quickly and let all the annoying bugs for later? I think the main thing is that exploits break testing a lot more than bugs do. And exploits are a lot easier to find because it's easy to replicate an exploit compared to a bug. So for instance, if you had an exploit that allowed people to drug each other in a space station compared to a bug that made people trip and fall in the space station, the exploit would obviously be something to fix faster because like that's literally going to stop people from playing the game. Whereas the bug where people are falling over in the space station is kind of like, well, I mean, you can just get back up. That can't be abused. people can still acknowledge that that happens, put that feedback into CIG, and they can act on it, but it's not necessarily going to be as big a deal. That's my take. I don't know if that's really the actual go-to, but I feel like exploits definitely make it harder to test the game than bugs do. Ruby, thank you so much. Crazy thing is that nowadays almost anybody could make that tech demo made by Chris and make it look a bit better looking. Yeah, they could make the tech demo in-game by now. We paid for them to customize a game engine from the ground up, so now they can bank on it. Fair. Do you think they should have waited a bit longer to add item loss on death? I think it would have been nice if we didn't get it when we did, but I also think that they need to have item responsibility and like tracking into the game. And I don't think there's any way to do that other than to allow them to be lost on death so that they can understand how it works. Because like, wouldn't it be much worse if they added in that stuff after we got persistence, after we got used to everything kind of working, and then they threw in items disappearing? They'll break it in a little bit. Easier to spot exploits because 20 YouTube content creators make videos bragging about or showing off the exploit. Not to mention, bugs might be related to tech that will not be that will be replaced soon. That's true. Inventory bugs for sure. The earlier you add a feature, the better it is for the development of the game. I imagine, yeah, you want to just get everything as fast as possible in. Let's see. In 2022, we will continue to grow in all departments, increasing our headcount to approximately 840 and bringing us closer to release for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. One challenge we have been facing is that we have nowhere near enough room at several of our studios for new hires that joined us during the pandemic. Because of this, we signed long-term leases on new offices in brand new and state-of-the-art buildings in Manchester and Frankfurt last year. They got that COVID pricing. We are now only months away from opening the 2 new offices, both of which will create world-class collaboration spaces and house our ever-growing team. Napkins, you f***ing crazy man. Just come in here and drop down 10 subs. Dude, thank you. I appreciate that a lot, man. Hope the mallets are going well, dude. That's literally selling back. Even if it's at 25%, that's money that is just being poofed into the economy. When the inventory PTU bug got fixed in a day, you could click the 9,999 item tab, and regardless of whether or not you had the money to buy it, the sale went through. Oh my god. Oof. Yeah, there's no more reason for people to buy stuff anymore. Where was I? Oh, there it is. We are now only months away from opening the 2 new offices, both of which will create world-class collaboration spaces and house our ever-growing team. Our new studio in the UK will deliver 90,000 square feet of state-of-the-art creative studio space above the top 3 floors of Manchester Goods Yard, as well as 2 stages in the adjacent Manchester studios and bonded warehouse complex. A dedicated motion/performance capture 4,500 square foot stage with a suite of changing rooms, a green room, machine room, scanning room, and viewing gallery, along with smaller stage for global video production, which will have dedicated set and be well set for filming a vast array of content for Star Citizen and later on Squadron 42's launch. That is just a stupid amount of stuff. Oh. It's just a lot. Like, and then when you look at the studio, it's very not, I don't know. In Frankfurt, we will be moving into 30,000 square feet over 2 floors at The One, with spectacular views high above the city skyline, which is double our current space in Frankfurt and should situate us well for any near-term growth there. Whoops. We're also looking at the next location for our Austin studio for potential move-in late next year. So they're gonna also move it. They're moving all over the place. But they've got studios in Los Angeles, Austin, Frankfurt, and Manchester, with a subsidiary or like a partnership studio kind of thing in Montreal, Canada. So they've got a lot of space to cover. and a lot of employees to house, and they're moving into new studios clearly for the long run. They're not, this isn't like a, oh yeah, we're finishing up Star Citizen kind of play. This is like a, we're angling to be one of the premier game studios in the world for the foreseeable future. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but they're definitely, they're building in on it. And I think it's going to mean more than just Star Citizen. They always sound as ambitious as you do when you start at your work sprints, and then when the sprint is ending, you realize you never budgeted to interrupts or scoped time. That's what happened with this game. Mike was very mad about how much money they're spending on studios. How much are they spending on studios? It'll be interesting to get their financials to see how much these studios are worth. Is there anything about inventory? Not in this announcement, no. There will be changes to inventory in the next year, though. For some, it's almost too much. For you, being a programmer, bring it on. So these are the studios. And they're very nice. These are digital mock-ups. So, like, this is not a digital mock-up. This is indeed real life. But these are premier locations. I mean, this looks like a freaking convention center or a stadium of some sort. They're at a high point in a tall building in a city. In order to attract talent, they need to have great places to work. Huh. Is that actually a thing? Like, do people care that much about it? I feel like there's got to be like a threshold. This feels like it's above the threshold for me. If I wanted to work on Star Citizen, I don't think this studio would be the reason I did. It'd be nice for sure. But I guess they need to get people who don't necessarily want to work at Star Citizen. They just want to work at a premier game studio. They're definitely angling to be like Premier Place, huh? This is like a industry leading kind of workspace. I feel like they're trying to build and really double down on it. It's a big thing in tech company world. I see. I don't want to make any major statements about how I feel about this. I don't know how much it cost. I don't know how much of this they're actually going to do. All I know is they need the space, and they need a good working environment, and they need to treat their employees well. A lot of this looks like it'll do that, and I hope that they're balancing out how much they spend on these working places compared to how much they spend on the game. A CIG dev was in Mike's chat, and he said one of the first questions some potential employees ask is, what do the offices look like? Huh? That's funny. They're just like the players. We're like, what does a ship look like? Show me the new shiny ship. And the programmers are like, show me the new offices. Love that. Ooh, I missed it. Where did that go? Love that they're adding SC style furnishings. The theming is kind of nice. Hard to find quality devs. Slack HQ is down the road from you. Looks like new Babbage in there. Wow. You need to draw attention, not just wait for the devs to come to you. This is a good way, and it's cheap. You could just post pictures of your offices, and that's good enough. Maybe it's worth it. There are likely massive subsidies from the various governments. Oh, definitely. Not only that, they got COVID pricing on this stuff, right? But, like, there's a lot of extras in the office. They don't have a marketing budget yet. Salty Mike's a little salty about the new studio. SC Architects just making freaking mint. Well, the other studio, so let me scroll back up to the Manchester studio. This one is way more out of the, like, just... This one is wild. The theming, the designs, it all looks great. It really does. But, like how much is that sign gonna cost, you know? How much are these neon signs gonna be? Are these special themed doorways? Is that a freaking Cloud Imperium themed VRF unit? Like, it's insane because it's a lot of custom work and stuff. Who knows? Maybe they made good savings on it. I just hope that it is all being responsibly allocated. You know, if we have to put 70% of the money towards the game development, and this is like 20% of the money, then okay. Sign's about $8,000 actually. Your buddy just bought one? Wait, those, not the Grimhex one, just like a big one. Yeah, most of the floors and ceilings are poured concrete. It's got that industrial feeling, exposed HVAC, structure, concrete and stuff. It's not so much the construction thing that I'm looking at. It's like the theming and custom designed stuff. It's very... It is some high-priced office space. I would love to work here. I freaking adore... Like, look at the bar! What? That looks nicer than the bar in the game. I'd love it. Maybe they're gonna just... I guess they do a lot of studio tours and stuff. Maybe they're banking on a lot of civilians. Civilians? Is that even... non-employees being in here at times. Office expenses can be subtracted from the taxes, like write-offs. Most of that is just fixture work, which is a lot cheaper than massive reworks to floors and ceilings. Well, hopefully we get to see the finances of it, and that can be proven right. Citizens. Yeah, sure. Are non-dev citizens. Tours have been tradition for a while, very worth it if you live near one of the studios. Oh, I know. I've been wanting to do one, and I'm wondering if that's a major part of the theming and stuff. All right, so we got three more sections to talk about. Let's talk about CitizenCon this year. Yeah, because that's kind of a big one. Shows such as CitizenCon are huge undertakings that require a lot of planning, and although life is slowly returning to normal, restrictions are only just now lifting. Basically, this next paragraph talks about how they're not going to be sure of what's happening in October. LA is pretty strict with some of their stuff, which is where CitizenCon was going to be. And to be quite honest, the keynote demo for CitizenCon takes a lot of dev work away. It takes time away from devs who do have to put in some work to that, whether that be just placing pre-made assets or creating entirely new AI functions to show off. They use work for that stuff. They use work for the GDC demo too. And sometimes they used to do work for like some of the larger videos they did. We used to get really long weekly videos, and then they started to kind of tone them down a little bit because they took a lot of time from the developers. So basically no CitizenCon this year. It's going to be digital, just like last year. And they'll do the panels and all that kind of stuff, but they won't have a main gameplay demo this year. And I think it makes sense. I think the game is now at a point where people can look at the gameplay that's actually happening and get enough confidence in the direction of the game, whereas before, I think they did need to prove to people like, hey, we've got good plans for this stuff coming up. What you're playing right now isn't great, but here's what's coming. And I don't think they need that so much anymore. But because of all of this, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I basically just summarized all of that. One difference to last year is that there will be no keynote gameplay demo to headline the event. It would pull valuable resources away from our development teams working on persistent streaming, Gen 12 server meshing. Blah, blah, blah. We know that. Instead, CitizenCon will be celebration of you, the community. Yay! With presentations and panels from our developers to share with you the progress we are making and the near future of what you can expect from Star Citizen in the year ahead. And as I noted back in December 2020 letter, we are still going to be quiet on Squadron 42 until it is time to start the release campaign. And we are not quite there yet. Know that progress is coming along nicely, but we're not quite ready to pull the curtain back on Squadron yet. So, I mean, if they're not ready to pull it back by the end of this year, then that means Squadron's going to be pretty far out. Are we sad about not getting the sandworm? I can honestly care less about the sandworm. Should get another podcast episode with Salty Mike about all this? Probably will. Glad you're putting aside. They're putting aside CitizenCon, taking resources and cash. They're getting marketing from certain well-known tomato streamers now, and also from the game. Honestly, they're getting marketing way more from other streamers like Level Cap, Jack Frags, Ollie, some big people playing this game. Yeah, the sandworm is in lore in the Lear system, so I'm assuming when we get there they'll bring it in. And they'll probably do actually ship sales during CitizenCon. They usually do the ship sales in November with the Aerospace Expo. So instead of CitizenCon, they're going to be doing a bunch of Bar Citizens. They plan to kick off a robust Bar Citizen World Tour this summer, perfectly coinciding with the in-lore holiday First Contact Day. We would also like to take this perfect opportunity to coin a new out-of-game annual holiday, International Bar Citizen Day. We will celebrate this inaugural new holiday by hosting Bar Citizen events simultaneously near all of our development studios in mid-June. Details on when and where coming very soon. It's gonna need to be soon, bro. That's not far away. Hey, Ferrister, how's it going? Not an in-law holiday, right? That Tirada video going viral. Yeah. The Tirada video was the freaking... That thing went everywhere. Front page of Reddit. You saw Jack Frag's video a few days ago, didn't even know it was a game before the video. Wow. That's a big leap in then if you're already here and listening to all this stuff. Welcome, Mando. After the mid-June thing, they plan to branch out and bring the fun to events that may not be as close to our studios. Our community team is planning to embrace Bar Citizens around the globe with renewed vigor, bringing goodies and developers with them to greet and mingle with all of you as part of our celebration of our 10th anniversary. I think I'm going to try and run one in December, depending on how COVID goes. I want to try and do a Bar Citizen, so keep an eye on that. Which video was going viral? Tirada had a really cool video of him fighting against a Bengal carrier in the Scorpius. And it had everything. It had like perfect framing, it had awesome guns being shot, it had great lighting, it had like a ship blowing up, it was amazing. Yo, double dipping on Twitch, I see you. You're getting 2 jabs. Keep the amazing work up. Thank you so much, Extreme Tuber. Seriously. Keep a close eye on Spectrum in the weeks to come as the team will begin exploring which Bar Citizen events to attend. Okay, so that's essentially all the update. Now we get some final thoughts, just a conclusion, just to see kind of where do we go from here? What do we expect? Yeah, people slowly starting to realize this is a game. While some of you will no doubt be disappointed to hear the news about no physical show and no keynote demo at CitizenCon, the team and I felt it was much more important that we focus on making development progress so that we could maintain the pace of delivery we have been hitting since Alpha 3.14. This year is a big one for all of us on Star Citizen. You can expect to see Invictus launch week moving into the clouds of Crusader, the promise of persistent entity streaming making its way to the verse, as well as big game-changing features like salvage, physicalized cargo, bounty hunting V2, new events and missions, enhancements to Jumptown, ships I know you're waiting on like the Corsair Vulture and Hull C, as well as more quality of life and new player onboarding improvements to make Star Citizen even more playable and welcoming than it is today. This better include the visor system rework. I think that's one of the best things they could do for newcomers to help them better understand the game. Hey, no problem, Synchronize. And that is without mentioning pyro and server meshing, which we are aggressively working towards letting you test by end of year, pending how difficult it is to get persistent entity streaming stable. We think you would all rather be playing this new content than hearing about it, so we will use our time this year to focus on development and delivering to you the tech, features, and content you are waiting for. The developers at CIG tend to get a lot of attention, which is well deserved as it is the most talented development team I have ever worked with. But there are a lot more people beyond development at CIG, as they say, it takes a village. I feel like he's like, hey, the people here get a lot of attention. We actually talked about that earlier when we called y'all noisy. Not everybody, just the people who are noisy. But like, the developers do get a lot of attention. So the visor rework is here. Visor lens rework, converting the visor and lens system to building blocks for improved performance and flexibility. They talk a lot about, I wonder if they have it on here, augmented reality displays and icons and markers and stuff. And I think that kind of stuff is coming along with the Visor V2 setup. What I'm hoping that also includes is a better ability for our HUD to show us things we can interact with in the game, right? There's a lot of stuff in this game you can interact with that you might not recognize or realize. And I'm really hoping that there's an augmented reality thing that we can turn off and on, that our helmets will help us to understand what we're looking at. And that comes in with this visor rework so that newcomers can get some more help on that. I know they're this week, but I'm already getting a couple, so I can't those as well, and was looking to get them at the end of the year. You talking about buying ships? How can you get to the Star Citizen office pictures on their site? Just go ahead and follow this link. We really need AR naming conventions. Helmets with low quality scanners built in would be wonderful. Yeah. Touch capable HUDs and MFDs. Yo, the MFDs would be so nice. The new MFDs, I mean. We've seen concepts for new MFDs quite a bit. In fact, I could probably show you real quick. A lot of people haven't. This is actually a pretty old video, because they showed this to us a while ago and then it didn't get into the game yet. So these are some of the MFDs that they've been working on, conceptualizing. I think they look way better than what we have now. The design, the way they display stuff, I think it's much better displayed and it looks really good. But we don't know when that's coming. We used to have AR markers in 2.0 with ArcCorp. It was great. I guess they're doing that in building blocks now. Yeah. And I really do hope that helps out with the newcomers, because this game's hard. Without our publishing and live ops teams, the servers would not be up 24/7 in the cloud, and you would not be able to download or play Star Citizen. Without our quality assurance, and remember, like, literally publishing and live ops would not exist in a normal game, because they're not running the game at the time. These are the kinds of teams that take money, development time, concentration, and communication block-ups. That's what it adds. And you don't really have that on a normal game dev team, at least not that I know of. I guess maybe they'd be their training, but... Without our quality assurance teams, tireless testing, and feedback, Star Citizen would be unplayable. Without the backend and web teams at Turbulent, you would not be able to log on, have a website to read news and information, or a forum to participate in healthy debate on. They had to put healthy in there. Because freaking these forums get crazy. Without our studio experience team looking after the health of our organization, there would not be a creative environment as ambitious as Star Citizen. Without our finance and legal teams, we could not have built a company as unique and groundbreaking as CIG and its funding model. Cheeky little addition there. Without our marketing and community teams, there would not be any communication about our plans, no dazzling trailers to tease and excite about future content and sell ships, and no real back and forth between the community and CIG. Without our customer support and player experience teams, you would not get the help you need, nor have the ability to give feedback on gameplay in a way it can be quantified. Without our IT team, without our people team, without our teams. All the teams do all the work in this game. That's what he's trying to say. There are a lot of people. It's easy to forget that this is a company, like a business, with a bunch of people who have almost no desire to play Star Citizen, but are interested in building games, or interested in doing finance, or interested in being HR. And they're just kind of working a job. They don't even realize how much drama is going on behind the scenes for us. Speaking of the game being hard, you were pretty excited to see they nerfed some of the intro missions. Oh, that's good. That is good. A lot of the devs do play. That is for sure. A lot of the devs play with players. You'll see them in the servers sometimes, and they'll just be hanging out in our own chats at times. A lot of the devs are super into this, but I think it's easy to forget that it is a company and there's a lot of different opinions and backgrounds and places people are coming from, and that's why they started to bring that into ISC, but people got real mad about that. Yeah, my camera's pretty glitchy. I think my motherboard's broken. But that basically wraps up the letter, folks. That is the full update on what kind of is going on in the next year, what we can expect, what the mission is, and what the explanation is. We learned about 317.2. The next update we're getting new missions, new locations, and new stuff like that. We're looking at 318, which is bringing in persistent entity streaming, as well as likely more new missions, the cargo refactor, and salvage. We're looking at a possible 319, at which time we would start to be seeing server meshing being teched in the background. And with 319, I'm guessing we'll also get new locations and stuff like that. And finally, 4.0. Coming with Pyro, server meshing, new AI, new outposts, new space stations. It is going to be a freaking huge patch. The next year, the next 13 months or so are going to be buck wild. Looks like I'm streaming in Pyro. Maybe I should keep it. Will there be a full quality video on this? No, I don't think so. I'm going to do a podcast. I already did a summarized talk where I go over this for like 20 minutes. That's actually on the second channel. But I don't plan on doing anything super polished, at least not for a while. Not until I have a little bit more info and I can talk about the overall road to Pyro. I am making a video called The Road to Pyro. It's coming out for all supporters, anybody who is a YouTube channel member, a Twitch subscriber, or anything else. I'm working on a video right now. It should be coming out next week that'll detail everything that we know about what's going into Pyro, where they are in development, and what the idea is behind Pyro. That's going to be like a 17-minute overview kind of thing. So if you're into that, check out the support methods. Everybody who does support gets access to those exclusive videos. Can I read it backwards now? Are you talking like every word or literally the letters? Because I can't read the letters. It's like starting from here. It's like Eret, Litz, Nep, Dem, Ro, Nug, Et, Dinf, Ot. Whoa. Yeah, you can't, it's not going to work. I don't think anybody's going to really enjoy that. But that actually wraps it up for the most part, folks. Actually, let's talk about this for a bit. I'm going to go to the bathroom first, and then let's talk about what we just read through. All right. Invisimato. So, folks, what's your takeaway? What do you think it so far? How does this feel for you? Let's see. Here's your 2 cents on Pyro. Transport. Yeah, there's a ship that I think is going to be pretty useful for Pyro. This bad boy. Basically a ship transportation ship that is the size of 2 Hornets. And wow, it's actually fairly large. If you look at the ship and you can see it can fit a Cutlass Red on it. This is going to be pretty useful. I don't know if this will be in by Pyro, but it'd be very good if it was, because Pyro is massive. Pyro is about 3 times the size of Stanton, and it's going to require a lot longer jumps. A lot less ships will be able to do it regularly with their amounts of fuel, so a ship like this is going to be pretty useful. Understand it way better since you broke it down. I have watched like 4 videos on it, and you have had the best take. Thank you. Rather have honesty now than disappointment at CitizenCon? Yeah. Better than we were 2 years ago. That's true. It is very true. With the whole Road to Pyro thing being announced in CR's recent letter, I have been discussing something with my org. This is super important time for backers to give good feedback. The more we test and give good feedback, the better it is for CIG during this critical time. Amen. Amen to that. Ooh, I see an S raffle. Did somebody... Stranex, thank you for throwing down a sub. Happy Monday. I appreciate you. Thanks for the support. You're personally skeptically optimistic. That is a good way to be. A ship for shipping ships. All this stuff is cool, and there's still a ton that CIG doesn't even tell people about, like NPC behavior upgrades. Yeah, this is all like major stuff that's going on. But if you look at the progress tracker at some of the stuff that's like either finished work recently or is about to finish work soon, there's a whole bunch of little things that they didn't talk anything about here. That's going to be pretty exciting to see in the game. Musica X, thanks for the sub. I appreciate you. Thanks for keeping that raffle going. You think once reliable server meshing is in, larger ships are more realistic? Yeah, definitely. I had no idea what I jumped into first, but it honestly made me more excited to be part of this. You mean when you... Sorry. You mean when you joined the game, Adam? Oh yeah, the engines on this ship are huge. Where did the remote repair ship go that pitched a while back? Are you talking about the Crucible or the Vulcan? This is a Vulcan. And this bad boy comes with some drones right back here. And these drones can go repair and rearm other ships. This is, I really, really want this ship to come out. This is a cool ship. It's a great size. And it has an awesome design. Just started the game. I feel excited for all the updates they provided. Looking forward to what they start bringing out in the verse. All the moves they are making, I do not see them abandoning this at all. Takes a lot of time and money to make a single player game, let alone an MMO. I appreciate that take, Whale. I think that's a reasonable take. It's weird to go from this to a bangle. I think first you'd go from a Liberator to a... There's a few other ships that can carry. So first after a Liberator, I think the next thing would be an Idris. Which you can in fact fit, what, like 3 different ships in it? And then up from that, you'd probably go to a Kraken, which I believe can fit 5 ships, maybe 5 or 6 ships on it. And then I think you would go to, honestly, I don't think you would really go to anywhere. Is there any other ship that can carry? There's not really any other carrier class ships. I think maybe we might see one more, but yeah, I don't. We can't fly bangles anyway, so at least without CitizenCon, they'll spend less time on the demo. Yeah. Personally, I think it was a good letter to discuss what's to come. On the other hand, it felt like half the letter felt like it was defensive. While I understand CIG gets a lot of critiques, I just felt like this letter should have been inspiring and not justifications. I get that. The line is thin between justifications and explanations, or excuses and explanations. I am glad that they were able to talk about like some of the stuff that they didn't get done and why. But yeah, like they went, he likes to go overboard with the whole adjectives and the dreaming. if we give really good feedback now as in the PTU with Pez, it'd be a lot better. You're 17 right now. It will be over by when it will be over by time I can afford expensive PCs that have time to play the game. Oh, this game will be around, I think. Raffles are for channel points on my channel. I usually do ship giveaways around them. The lighting patch is looking good. You have a couple of times where you were talking with new players in game and NPCs came over to stand with you. Oh, the NPCs though. A good continuation of the stuff they've been working on, from OCS to more persistence to then actual server meshing. Looking forward to it. Same. Renato, how's it going? Then again, been doing that since October 2012. Yet I'm still here as other games like Elite Dangerous Eve didn't manage the same scale and immersion. Yeah, that's the bummer. If somebody else was doing this better, we'd go there. Do I remember many years ago when they talked about repair drones? Where the hell did that go? I do. I could actually probably find you something real quick. Check this out. Let's see. Around the verse, Vulcan. Something. I don't remember what it was fully called. We can actually come in here and see. Here's a little example in their white box, gray box, whatever, I think it's white box kind of phase of what they imagine launching drones out of a ship would look like. Essentially, you have this component, this compartment in the ship that is vacuum sealed with doors that open to both the interior and exterior. You load up the drone with whatever it needs on it to do its job. You press a button, the outdoor doors open. Looks like the indoor doors are still open there, which is probably a problem. And the drones can fly away and do their stuff. From the interior, it looks like this, basically. You have a door, it closes, room seals vacuum shut, the outer door opens, drones get taken out and released to go. This is a concept that exists with a lot of ships. This is on the Carrack, it's on the Reclaimer, it's on the Vulcan. I believe it's on a few different ship. But yeah, this is gonna be the repair drone stuff, and I mean they've got some working model of what they want it to be like, but it's still not. It's nowhere near game ready, I guess. It was a remote. Oh, you're talking about Cryastro. Cryastro repair drones. These bad boys. Also, there's the old landing interface if anybody hasn't seen it. This is what I want them to do, just in a 3D version instead of 2D. Oh, okay, that's a glitch. There we go. These are the repair drones. So this is what used to happen when you wanted your ship repaired. It used to be bespoke to a specific space station, and then they were like, okay, we don't need these. Take them out. But they'll come back. Congrats on 30k subs. Did we reach 30k subs on YouTube? Oh. Hey, look at that. Oh, that's pretty neat. Pretty sick, bro. Thanks, Vagabond. Pegasus and Jupiter, which we don't know about yet. Ah, that's fair from Crusader. Bengal is crazy to see up close. Saw its gigantic gun. Yeah, the Bengal is nuts. What is the understanding about where they are with AI work related to everything from AI bounties to NPCs either on stations or bunkers? My vague understanding is it's in progress, but what is the latest on that, if anything? There's actually a good video on this. If you'd like to get the full idea. If you'd like to get the full idea of what's going on with AI, they literally just 3 days ago, interviewed the whole AI team. Not the whole AI team, sorry. Part of the AI team. And they had things that they were showing in the game of how AI work. They had little help you understand what they're doing, but they answered a lot of good questions here. to tell everybody, hey, this is what's going on with AI in the game. This is what we're doing. Here's the progress. So check out their official YouTube channel for that. You have a ship question. You were dumb and bought 4 light fighters. You want to exchange 3 of them for something besides the Cuddy. Any recommendations? I'd get a Prospector. It's the most liberating ship in the game right now, in that it unlocks an entire new gameplay loop for you. The i7 12700K is going to be great for this game. Well, it'll work. It'll be good. Oh, you were talking about the Crucible. Okay. Right. I forgot to mention that there was another repair ship. Yeah, so this is like the upgrade to the Vulcan. And this is a full-on ship that somebody could come and land on and get their ship worked on. So you could be like just a floating repair ship out in space, and people will come to you to get repaired. Yeah, we're just looking at the tip of the iceberg, Peasy. I think there's a lot more ships to come. How far away is decompression in ships, do I think? Not far. They've shown the previs for what they want decompression to look like, but they've also shown us... Sorry, I'm looking through my files here. Where is this? I'm actually having trouble finding a specific clip for you. They do have some form of decompression working on the systems end. Wow, it's weird that I can't find this. Yeah, sorry, I don't think I can find it right now. I don't want to keep you guys waiting too long, but they've shown closed testing, having people open and close doors and trigger pressurization in rooms, and they've also talked about the ability for the life support system to now create oxygen and replace CO2 with oxygen. So those systems are working. I think they've still got a lot more work to do on the design front, though. I don't think we'll see decompression until late this year, at the earliest. The repair bots were in game back before 3.0. 30K subs, yes. The forbidden sub number. Kind of surprised they aren't working on procedural animation tech. They are. In fact, if I'm not a liar and a bozo, I could probably find where they talk about it. Monthly reports, I want to say March. And if we go to the animation section... No, there is no animation. Oh. I also worked on Shubin Interstellar. No. Okay, so it must have been April. Thought it was earlier than that. Okay. No. Guess it was February. It's around here somewhere. Maybe it wasn't in the animation section, actually. Yeah, maybe I'm not looking at the right place, but they are working on procedural animation because there are so many different ships and items that have to be picked up. They're working on ways to allow NPCs to stretch their animations to account for those different items and stuff. What comes after the Crucible in terms of repair? That's the king ship right now for repairing. You're in Orson. Where do you go to get your ship? You're going to want to take the tram that is next to the apartment building you came from, Green Circle. There is a flying car off to the side, the opposite direction of the rest of the city. So across from the bridge, you take that to the spaceport. Yeah, we've been going over the recent letter for the chairman. We're all done now. We've just been kind of touching on some of the key details that were interesting to everybody. But if you want on YouTube, we just finished the stream on YouTube. You can go back through and watch the whole thing again. If, you know, that's what you desire. Basically that stuff, yeah. With context and, you know, any of the news that I can relate back to monthly reports and things like that. Ooh, Hard Space Shipbreaker comes out tomorrow. Forgot about that. When will the Corsair be flyable? Probably in 3.18. Since they're gonna keep 3.18. Actually, no. Let's say 3.19 just to be safe. Awesome episode with Level Cap. Just watch the whole thing. It was a great talk. He's an awesome guy. Any information on AI improvements, NPC behavior? Yeah, Azek, you might have missed. I answered your last question on AI. There's an entire YouTube video here. It's an hour-long video describing what's going on with AI right now. So if you really want all the updates on what they're doing, this is the best place to go. It's on their official channel, and it came out about 3 days ago. I'd love to see a bounty hunting ship based on Slave One, to be honest. Made by Drake. I think that'd be cool. Been following since 2017. Truly incredible how far they've come since just Port Olisar. Yeah. Recently found your channel and love your content. I'll be following you from now on. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the stuff. Hard Space Shipbreaker's coming in 3.18. Listening from work, just missed it. No problem. I'll drop the link in the chat if you need that. Anybody who wants to touch on some of the AI improvements, that's a whole bunch of news on that. The trans system needs to stop in front of the apartment area to get to the spaceport. Having to run to the stop on the other side is always a drag. You mean like right in front of that building where the exit is? Love your podcast, Morning Drive every Wednesday. You rock. Thank you. Everybody, I love it when people come in and tell me about that, because like I'm the exact same way. I have people whose podcast I download every day, a certain day, and I'll like listen to it at the gym, or I'll listen to it when I'm on my walks or something. Whoops. Hopefully they beef up the servers before Invictus Week actually lands. Invictus Week's going. Unfortunately, the servers are not. Or rather, the servers are. The servers are also going. Have there been any updates on physicalized ship components? Not really, other than things like this where they show us subcomponents being worked on. We don't know much else besides that. Good choice. Actually might be interesting as a Mist or Xion heavy fighter. Like a cross between the Reliant and the Raylan and the Vanguard. Tram system needs to stop lagging and dropping me into... You keep getting dropped by the train? That's annoying. Good afternoon, Justice. I am, I'm not sub. I'm tomato. But thank you, and welcome. When I launched the game, I had to wait in queue of 100 people. How long did that take? Yeah, Invictus is this week already. Also, if you buy the game during the 11 days, do you keep your things in what you got now, or will you have to restart? This is a good question, and one I still haven't gotten answered. I'm under the impression that you keep the things that you got for your profile if you buy the game. But you won't like if you rented a ship, it won't be there when you come back in a week or something like that. No problem, Justice. We're all goobers on this blessed day. Are there any good ship sales during Invictus? I think there are. Honestly, I don't know. I am actually not aware. You've been in a queue of 99 people right now. Oof, that's a lot. That's a lot. It's crowded right now. What's up, John? Good to see you. Starter packages are on sale. That's good. Yeah, for anybody who wants to get into the game, starter packages on sale is a good thing. I heard the Pisces is affordable. Anything that's persistent, you would think so. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. 124 in the last queue. Jeez. Well, I think I did my fair share of speculating, explaining, and contextualizing today. I'm sure I missed some stuff. I'm not a game developer, so I'm sure I also misstated some stuff, but I hope that I was able to give some level of information that you didn't know before, and fill in a blank or two here or there, and just get people updated on what's going on in Star Citizen in the next year. There's a lot going on. This is like 30% of what's happening. There's a ton of other stuff going on in Squadron 42, with Star Citizen features, with freaking Theaters of War. Like, there's a lot, and it's easy to miss it all and not know what's going on. So I hope this was a decent summary. It was a long summary, but I hope it kind of helped people get a better understanding of what this game is about and what they're about right now in the current state of development. There's also, like I said, another one on my second channel, Space Tomato 2. That's where my podcast is, where I just did a show with Level Cap Gaming, Aldi 43. It's where I'm going to have a show with Astropub, Execute, and Info Runners, Obsidian, Ant. Several people are already lined up for the next month. So if you want to see that, check out the second channel, and also go see my even faster summary of this whole speech over there. And I'm going to go ahead and pass everybody on in a little raid. We're going to hop into somebody's channel here. Who are we thinking? Who are we thinking? I might raid Detox. It's been a little while. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba, yeah, I think we're going to head over to Detox, folks. What if Tau at the end of the year? Ah. I'm not even going to talk about that. Call me crazy, I will melt all I have to get the Perseus. It's the exact amount. I'll get a starter later on. Perseus isn't out yet. Oh yeah. I would also like to take a moment, since I realize I haven't talked about them in a little while and nobody knows. We've got socks. If you like to keep your toes warm, from your head to your toes, we've actually got special custom-made Space Tomato socks, literally from the thread count down to the specific colors used. These are custom, they're not printed on there. They're manufactured, they're quality, and they are great. It's the first really like custom thing we wanted to try, and they do absolute great things for your toes. You can't really see it here. It says my toes on your toes, just in case people didn't know. But Space Tomato socks, they're available on our store, Fourth Wall, ! Merch, ! Socks? Toes? Not really sure. But it's a great way to support us, and toes are awesome, and they're really comfy socks. But besides that, guys, thank you all for coming to this stream. Thanks for your support, if you did so. Thanks for watching. That is also supporting. And I hope you got something from this. I hope you'll enjoy the next stream I'm passing you on to. Detox, awesome guy. Probably doing some Star Citizen gameplay. And I guess I will see you all on Wednesday. We'll be streaming again on Wednesday. Probably go in and check out some Invictus Week stuff. Or actually, no, I will be streaming with Carolinger. For those of you who know them, German creator. Oftentimes does stuff in English as well. We'll be having a joint stream on Wednesday, so make sure to come by and check that out and see what we're doing. I love you all, seriously. You keep me going. Thank you guys for that. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a lovely, lovely day.